What's going on, Lions fans? Welcome to the Pride of Detroit PODcast. I'm your host, Meko, and in today's podcast, we are going to be talking about some of the latest news surrounding your local Detroit Lions. That includes the All-Pro selections that were made for the 2025 season, as well as talking about the Lions' continued search for an offensive coordinator, and are they on a bit of a clock to be hiring one as soon as possible, or should they be a little bit more thorough? We're going to talk about that, as well as talk about the thing that the rest of the NFL world is talking about, which are the playoffs and what we have made of this most recent week of games and what are some of the biggest takeaways that we've had from it. We're going to talk about that and a whole lot more. But before we jump into those things, let me introduce my amazing co-host that I have with me today. First and foremost, you have your senior editor over at prideofdetroit.com, Ryan Matthews at Ryan_POD. Ryan, how are you feeling? How was your weekend and how did you enjoy the first slate of games?
Malik Willis wouldn't have lost that game. That's all I'm going to say.
I thought the same exact thing. I'm not even gonna lie to you. I sat there, I was like, Malik Willis would have locked this up.
He would have put that game away. He would have went out and kicked the field goals better than McManus. You know what I mean? So
I mean, I also think John Harbaugh probably would have coached a better game too, but I don't know. Maybe that's a little too early to be jumping to those types of conclusions.
let's just pile it on. Let's just keep piling it on. Bring in the other guy.
Jeremy,
Let him
what
do it too.
I was gonna say, Jeremy, do you want to pile in or do you want to bring order to this podcast early on? We have your editor, your editor in chief over at PrideDetroit.com, Jeremy Reisman at Detroit Online over there on Twitter.
I mean, listen, I'll always join in on Packer pylon. So I don't know. I don't have anything necessarily snarky to say, but as someone who was rooting for the Bears to lose a little bit, I still took a lot of pleasure in watching the Packers' epic meltdown because I don't know, it like the little floor discourse is very, very interesting right now, where it certainly sounds like they're going to bring him back, and I think they should, but he has lost a lot of fans in Green Bay, which I think is very interesting.
I found out very quickly in that game, like which way I was leaning. As like things were kind of going in one direction, I was like, oh, I actually know who I actually want to lose this game more. And yes, it was like a silver lining that the Packers lost, but I was like, I really wanted the Bears to lose, and I was pretty comfortable with that decision. But we're gonna have more than enough time to talk about that in segment two. Right now, let's talk about the thing that most of these people are tuning in to listen to, and that's about our local Detroit Lions. The NFL came out with their 2025 All-Team Pro selections. And lo and behold, the Lions still, despite not making the playoffs and despite having a disappointing season in their own regard, still can landed four players on the first and second team All Pros teams. First team included Penei Sewell and first time All Pro selection Jack Campbell, while the second team featured Amon-Ra St. Brown, who landed his third appearance on an All Pro team, as well as Aiden Hutchinson getting his first All-Pro selection, which was a little surprising to me. For some reason, I thought Aiden had already landed an All-Pro
I did
prior to
too.
this season, but no. But apparently, no. This is his very first one. So let's start with the first team with Penei Sewell getting his third selection to an All-Pro team, as well as Jack getting his first. Jeremy, I'm gonna start with you. What were just some of your biggest thoughts and instant reactions once you saw those guys were named to the first team?
Well, I mean, I think first of all, I was just really excited for Jack Campbell because one, I think we all were really, really hoping for a breakout year this year. Two, we got it, and then three, he got the honors for it. You always like to see good players, good people get rewarded for their hard work, and so I was really excited about that. And then the other thing, the Lions PR always puts out these stats for to put it in like a historical context, and to have four All Pros, two first team, two second team, I think we've already gotten a little spoiled into thinking like, oh yeah, that's of course, it's a talented roster. But like Jack Campbell is only the third Lions linebacker in history to be named first team All Pro, going with Chris Spielman and Joe Schmidt. Penei Sewell is already second in all time his Lions history in All Pro selections for an offensive lineman. Amon-Ra St. Brown has two first teams and one second team. Kelvin Johnson had three first teams and one second team. Like he is on Kelvin Johnson's tail already in his young career. I think just kind of that historical context of how lucky we are to have really elite individuals on this team. And I know it's no one wants to hear how lucky we are after missing the playoffs, but if you can enjoy the game beyond success, having to watch at least four generational Detroit Lions players is a pretty cool thing for us.
Yeah, and Ryan, how about you? What were some of your biggest takeaways from both Jack and Panay making first team?
Yeah, to echo a lot of the things that Jeremy said, but to maybe take it a step further in terms of things that maybe fans don't want to hear, but they should be reminded of is all four of those guys, Brad Holmes draft picks, right? No
Hmm.
imports on that list. And Penei Sewell already getting his third selection in such a short time, first team. And the Amon-Ra St. Brown one, Jeremy, that historical context of putting it into like Calvin Johnson numbers, doing that little equation is really impressive because like think about the talent that's at wide receiver right now. There's Justin Jefferson, there's Jamar Chase, there's CD Lamb. There's a lot of really, really talented wide receivers in the NFL right now, and for Amon-Ra St. Brown to be on his third, All Pro selection is something that's awesome. But my biggest takeaway, Miko, was you have a guy like Jack Campbell who was kind of the black sheep of that 2023 class, right? You could sing the praises of Gibbs immediately, Laporta, Brian Branch, all those guys in their rookie season. It was like those guys get it, those guys have it.
Hmm.
Jack is the guy who might just be lagging behind a little bit, and I mean, lo and behold, he was maybe the brightest spot on the team. I think consistently week in and week out, you could count on Jack Campbell, and it's really good because I know Jeremy. He was also selected as the media's good guy, right?
Yep. Yeah. I mean, he was outstanding in the locker room, always willing to talk. And, that first year that he came here, it was kind of like TJ Hawkinson's first year, where it was just like he's a little too buttoned up Iowa guy to really like speak on it and walking on eggshells a little bit. But like you can come up and ask him anything, one-on-one group, and he would give you a really honest, thorough answer. And so, again, like that's just something that makes me root for him a little bit harder and make me a little bit more proud, I guess, that he does get these honors.
Yeah, I was gonna say, like, when it comes to Jack personally, I think to your point, Jeremy, he was the guy that I think everyone was kind of expecting a breakout season because it's just like it was like okay rookie season, pretty good sophomore season, and it's like okay, like he's definitely improving. Can he make that jump to be one of the better linebackers, not just, in his on his team, but in the division and in the NFL? And I do think he did that to your point, Ryan. I think he honestly, when you look back on the season, he probably was the most consistent player outside of Penei Sewell, which is ironic because they're both the two players that were named to first team All Pro. But like week in and week out, I can't think of too many games this past season where like Jack Campbell was like, oh, Jack didn't have a good game. He was like he seemed to always be in the right place making tackles. The one thing, right, that I guess like he came so close to but didn't actually get is an interception. But
Yeah.
outside of that, like in a season where Fred Warner goes down with an injury and you're kind of like missing that star, middle linebacker to kind of be the face of the NFL, like Jack filled that role, I think as well as anyone possibly could have.
And Dan Campbell let us know that it was coming back in July, right? When all the
Hmm.
stuff was kind of swirling about Alex Anzalone, it was this is Jack Campbell's defense. Like he's the guy.
Yep.
He's the green dot. He's the dude. And I won't say it was met with trepidation, but it was met with maybe some unease just because you saw what Alex Anzalone did in week 18 against the Vikings. Like that was still kind of maybe fresh in your head a little bit. There was the contract stuff with him, like I said, and people were really hoping that they would come to a conclusion and work out something with him. There was Derek Barnes. So again, like just like in the 2023 draft class, Jack Campbell kind of lost in the shuffle a little bit there, even amongst his own linebacker room. And then lo and behold, he has just an incredible season. So you feel good about that position
Yeah.
in terms of you have Jack, they can fill out the rest of the room. You know what I mean? Like you feel
Yeah.
like he's the leader, and it's just a little bit different than Panay though, right? Where it's like, okay, Panay, generational talent. There's still a lot of work to be done along that offensive line.
Just
And
one last quick thing on Jack, because as someone who owned a Jared Davis jersey, this it feels like this team hasn't had a great line of linebacker draft picks in history. I think we're always kind of like okay, but linebacker is one of the more complicated positions. You have to literally know everything about the defense. You have to know the defensive line. You have to know the secondary. You have to be able to communicate between all those. It takes time to develop. And so, like, there is just kind of like a sigh of relief season now, knowing that Jack Campbell actually did reach his developmental potential. We don't have to be like, all right, well, maybe year 4, like maybe he's still learning. Maybe, there was a change in defensive coordinator. Maybe that, like, no, he's here. He's arrived. We can relax.
Yeah, like this
I
is
think an
the
argument could be.
floor of Jack Campbell, Meko.
I
It's
was
like
gonna
this is the
I was
floor.
gonna say, yeah, I was gonna say like I think there's still room for Jack to get better because I think the thing that he did so well at Iowa that we haven't quite seen him do like to that same level at the NFL is cover. Like I thought he was a great coverage linebacker at Iowa and he's gotten better at it year after year, but like I do think like in his final form,
Yeah.
Jack is going to be the guy that can cover the run and the pass extremely well. He's going to be that guy. I mean, he probably already is, but like he's going to be the guy that you never want to take off the field because he just is going to do so much for your defense. With that said, I do think we should talk about the other guy that also got a first time all pro selection in Aiden Hutchinson, which is like Jeremy, you and I said, like it's kind of crazy to think that he hasn't gotten one to this point, but I think it also just highlights just how stacked pass rushing is, or at like that position specifically, it is across the NFL. Like Aiden had still had what 14 and a half sacks and only got a second team nod, but it just goes to show like you gotta have like a stellar performance year in and year out to even be considered for this team, for either one of those teams.
Yeah, and I mean, Aiden kind of snuck up the leaderboard there because there was a time when when he wasn't even leading his own team in sacks, but finishes with like you said, 14 and a half, which was fourth behind Daniil Hunter, Brian Burns, and Myles Garrett. And I mean, it did feel like it was, I wouldn't say underwhelming season for Aiden Hutchinson, but it didn't feel like his best, right? It felt like there were times in which he disappeared a little bit. He still led the NFL in pressures, according to PFF, I think, and Next Gen Stats. So it's not like, I mean, I guess the point being, too, that everyone disappears, right? Myles Garrett almost didn't get that last sack despite being one away for like 2.5 games or whatever. Got a ton of extra attention, and still get to that 14 and a half sacks, I think, is still somehow underappreciated here, I think. And so I don't know. It's nice to see him get the second team All Pro nod, his first All Pro nod. But I like with Jack, I feel like there's a little bit more under the surface there. I feel like he's going to have an even better 2026 season, and that'll hopefully stand to be true if Ali McNeil returns to form on the interior, and if they get a guy who can pass rush opposite him. I still think there's more to what Aiden Hutchinson is eventually going to become, because I think, outside of the injury setback, I think he has generally gotten better every year. So, I'm happy for him, but I want more next year.
Yeah, right. I think the best way that I could kind of describe Aiden's all-pro season is that it was quiet. Like it kind of snuck up on you to the point where like you get to week 18 and it's like, oh, he's got 14 and a half sacks. Where did the last 7 come from? Like you kind of have to like backtrack and try to remember like when did he start piling these on, because it's similar to last year. I feel like he got a lot of sack production early in the season, and to Jeremy's point, there was this lull and then he kind of ramped it up again. And I think if we're trying to project what Aiden's final form is in the same way we were doing with Jack, it is like becoming more consistent week in and week out, where it's at least a half sack a game, or one of those types of things where it's like you're funneling sacks to other players, because it we've seen the flashes in enough games where it's just like you're too talented to disappear for long stretches like this.
Yeah, maybe part of that was the set of expectations where he was the front runner to be the NFL's comeback player of the year. People kind of expected him to come back and be that guy. But then, Christian McCaffrey had an incredible season that I think flew under the radar. Dak Prescott had a pretty good season, Trevor Lawrence. So there are some other guys I think that maybe got some shine nationally as far as that award went. And just with the lulls of the NFL season, a second team All Pro, nothing to turn your nose to, right? Nothing to sneeze at. But by the same token, all pros are measured in first teams. They're not measured in second teams. They're almost, it's a little bit of a consolation prize. Like being named first team all pro is that elite status. I think we can all agree that the expectation is Aiden Hutchinson will be there at some point. Like he'll be among the top three edge rushers sooner rather than later, we would hope, right?
Do you see him? Who do you see him jumping? Maybe Will Anderson, because the first team was Myles Garrett, Micah Parsons, and Will Anderson. And I
Yeah.
don't think he's better than Myles Garrett or Micah Parsons or will be. I mean, I guess how many years does Myles Garrett have left? Do you have to wait for that guy to retire at 30 right now?
Yeah. The other thing to consider though is look at the second team. Will
Yeah.
Anderson had Daniil Hunter opposite of him, so you can't tell me that that doesn't help give you a little bit of rub. So maybe
Sure.
if they do go out and get a primetime player opposite of him, Meko, then all of a sudden, just by proxy, you get Aiden Hutchinson 20 sack season and he ends up first team.
Yeah, absolutely. I think one of the names, if we were talking about guys who were quote unquote snubbed or just left off the all pro list altogether, is Jahmyr Gibbs for me. That's the one player that I kind of look at where there was literally a point in the season where I think we all kind of agreed as a consensus, like Jahmyr's like one of the top two backs in the season, and then to kind of get the all pro list and realize like, oh, he didn't make it, and to kind of go back and start checking his stats and be like, oh, like something happened where Jahmyr kind of fell behind everyone else. Does him not making an all pro team change your perspective on where he ranks among running backs in the NFL, Jeremy? Like, do you still feel like he's one of the best, or do you feel like, you know what, maybe where he ended the season is kind of where he actually is in reality compared to the other backs in the NFL?
It's going to be very hard for me to answer this question by not making a running backs don't matter joke. But I mean, no, it doesn't. Nothing that happened in the second half of the season changed my opinion about Jahmyr Gibbs being a top, I'd say, three back. Um, it's the offensive line, right? They started facing some tougher defenses down the stretch. Their offensive line struggled, and their entire run game struggled. I don't think anyone. I don't think CMC. I don't think James Cook. I don't think Derrick Henry. I don't think Jonathan Taylor, Bijan. Like I don't think any of those guys succeeded around behind the line's offensive line the way they were playing down the stretch. So it's it makes judging running backs incredibly hard when their job is so dependent on the offensive line. Specifically, their production is so reliant on their offensive line. But I still would like to see Jahmyr a little bit more involved in the passing game, just him lined out wide. I mean, obviously, he caught a ton of passes this year, and I don't even know. Maybe it was a career high. Let me double check. I don't. Reception. It was career high by a lot. It was 25 more than he haven't had in a career. But I still think there's more there as well. I guess this is a running theme is like, yeah, these guys are good, but they're going to be even better. And maybe that's a big takeaway to have from all that too. I mean, you mentioned that Brad Holmes drafted all these guys, but they're also all in the first 5 years of their career. That should span another 5 to 10 years in the league if all things go well, which means they're maybe not even hitting their stride yet. And so I don't think Jahmyr got snubbed necessarily because ultimately you can only judge these guys from the production that they have, even if you think Jahmyr Gibbs is still a top 2, top 4, top 5, whatever running back in this league. But I mean, if you don't have the stats to prove it, you're not going to get the votes.
Yeah, with Jahmyr Gibbs, I was pretty adamant throughout the season that those explosive plays are the reason why the Lions running game, even though it's not successful on a consistent basis, you could count on Jahmyr to make something happen, right? Whether it was in the receiving game or whether it was out of the backfield. But this is just the area of the all-pro voting where it really bottles up. There's one first-team running back. There's one second-team running back. There's not a lot of room on this list for guys. So, Meko, I think the thing that probably hurt his case the most is the voting happens immediately after Week 18. There was a
Hmm.
stretch of games where it's 58 yards from scrimmage versus the Rams. 68 yards from scrimmage against the Steelers, where he had 7 carries for 2 yards. Uh, and then there was the Minnesota game where he got locked up for 64. So like 58, 68, 64 in 3 consecutive weeks before week 18, you kind of fall back a little bit in the polls and just unfortunate timing. So I guess to answer your original question, he's still one of the most explosive players in the NFL, one of the most dynamic. if he becomes even more involved in the receiving game, which that's what I think got Bijan Robinson first team. That guy, he had a great season running the football, but on top of that, he had, I think it was 79 catches, and over 800 yards receiving. So that's pretty darn valuable. And
Yeah.
James Cook ended up winning the rushing title. Yeah, he did at 1667. So again, numbers, right? Like a lot of yards from scrimmage or winning the
hmm
rushing title. That's going to get you the award. He just fell short in those 3 weeks.
And I think that was my biggest takeaway because initially, like the shock was like, wait, Jahmyr didn't make it. I immediately went and checked stats, and I was like, oh, okay, no, this makes sense. And I immediately went to that stretch of games where I was like, this is where he lost it because I think you put Jahmyr over 100 yards in any of those 3 games, or like 2 out of those 3 games, and he's probably at least making second team All Pro. Like that's how impressive his season was. I still think he was like third in amongst running backs for touchdowns that season. And I think with like 17 rushing touchdowns, like he was still very impactful. But Jeremy, to your point, it's another reminder as to why this team needs to get this offensive line fixed. So like not so that Jahmyr can win an award, but necessarily so that he can be as impactful as he needs to be on a more consistent basis. Because once that offensive line started having more issues down the stretch, that is where you started to see the Lions run game kind of tail off. And Ryan, you bring up the fact that there's only like one running back position in the all pro voting. They're kind of making room for a second one because that's kind of what I took away from the new like all purpose running back position that was added to the voting, which I was just like, why don't we just make that RB2? Because most teams in the league have 2 running backs.
Yeah, and Gibbs came close. He was third in voting in the all-purpose position. He was sixth at running back. So, I mean, I get it. Maybe this is a way to fix that problem where you only have one All-Pro, one second team All-Pro at running back. But at the same time, Bijan got named to both, right? He was first team
Which I think
All-Pro
is
running
also
back.
ridiculous.
Right. It's just like, okay, so what are we doing here? I don't know. I mean, I like that they're thinking outside of the box, especially since some other, like some other things in the NFL, like edge rushers, are still considered outside linebackers, which are mixed in with linebackers and some other things. So there needs to be some sort of modernization with the way the game is changing, the way the positions are playing. But I don't know if this is it. It's weird.
There's also financial incentives, right, Jeremy? Like
Yeah,
when it
it
comes to
matters.
being named, to
Yeah.
these all pro teams or being named to the Pro Bowl, what it can do to your, fifth year option, how it changes the calculus when it comes to what that looks like. So like it's cool that they're getting I mean, even with like protector of the year, right? Like it's nice to
Yeah.
see the NFL try to like include more opportunities for players to get recognized for their high level of play.
Yeah, but I'm gonna agree with Jeremy. I don't necessarily know if this is the way to do it. I think you can definitely just add an additional position, whether it be running back, add an additional wide receiver spot. There's enough room, I think, in the way like to your point, Jeremy, of like how the game has transformed over the years. If you want to include more players, like to do that without making things so confusing, because that's essentially what you're doing with all purpose, where it still ends up being another running back anyways. Um, with that said, let's kind of shift gears a little bit and talk about some of the other big news surrounding this team, which has been their search for an offensive coordinator. Um, I think it's fairly easy to see that that's probably, or not even probably, that is the top priority as we stand right now in the offseason. But do you guys feel like the Lions are going to approach it the same way they did last year, where it was a top priority last year as well, and they went out there and they basically filled that spot right away, right, Jeremy?
Yeah. Kudos to Ryan to doing the research. It took them 10 days to hire um, their new offensive coordinator in John Morton. I assume this time around they're going to be more thorough. And I'm not saying that the search wasn't thorough because we talked to Dan at the combine, and he said, I think between both coordinator interviews, they interviewed somewhere between like 23 and 26 guys. Like it was a lot. Like we just didn't hear reports on like 80% of them because they do this stuff in the shadows. And most coordinator hires don't get a ton of play, but in terms of this one, because the Lions have such a great offense, and because a guy like Mike McDaniel is a big candidate, there's a little bit more press towards it. But I mean, it's tough because one, like They also get a week 2 week head start on where they were last year, right? You get bounced in the divisional round, you get bounced before the playoffs start. Now you can start that search a little bit earlier, but you also kind of have to wait a little bit, right? You have to wait to see how some things settle, where some of these head coaches land. Does that free up the offensive coordinator that was with him? Like Todd Monken's a great example. Is he available? Well, it sounds like he's not going back to Baltimore, but is he just going to follow John Harbaugh? Do you kind of have to wait? Monken's also getting head coaching interviews too, right? McDaniel, you're getting him in for an OC interview this week on Tuesday, but he's also taking like 4 head coaching interviews. So like the Lions, there's a fair amount of like they have to sit on their own hands and just kind of wait for this to play out, or they could be aggressive. And we've already seen David Blau, and I don't want to say slip through their fingers because we don't know if the Lions' intention was to hire him or they just wanted to get him in the door to interview him, but there's going to be a lot of teams looking. I mean, there's 8 teams looking for a head coach who will all probably be looking for an offensive coordinator. I have to imagine the Eagles are definitely going to be looking for an offensive coordinator after this year. So, like, does that create more urgency for you guys? Does that feel like you got to go in there and get your guy before he goes somewhere else?
Ryan, I'm all for implementing the DeAndre Jordan method when Mike McDaniel comes to town.
Just locking him in a room in Allen Park with a chair.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's interesting. I think the thing to keep in mind, Jeremy pointed out the context in terms of the timeline, the Lions getting bounced early, not making it to the playoffs. But just that notion that McDaniel is going to be here one day and then the next day he's off interviewing, I think, for the head coaching position with the Tennessee Titans. It's going to be interesting. And the thing is, I don't know if could you make an offer that would just be like, can you push across that Godfather offer and say, you're the highest paid offensive coordinators, the Detroit Lions, look at all the skill positions, let's roll. I just don't think it would work that way. Maybe it could. I don't know. Like maybe you just knock his shoes off and it's a done deal, signed, sealed, and delivered. But the thing I'm not looking forward to is maybe some of the fan base's unrest, right? Because I think they may have that mentality, Meko, where it's like, lock the doors, hopefully a snowstorm comes, he can't fly out, there are no more car rentals. McDaniel has to sign the dotted line, but there's just so much going on. Everybody's interviewing everybody right now, it feels like.
I think that's the other thing that makes this go around seem so much more high pressured is the fact that you have so many guys that are getting interviewed. And I think to your point, Ryan, it does feel like there's going to be a little bit of unrest where fans might be like, it's like that syndrome of like, hey, you don't want to be the last one at the dance. You don't want everyone else getting paired up and then you're kind of just stuck taking whoever's left. You would like to feel like the Lions are actually getting their guy. And I know that Mike McDaniel is the biggest name. It's the name that I would love for them to hire because I think it would lead to very interesting things for this offense. But the reality is that very fact that like he does have head coaching opportunities. And while I can sit here in my own opinion and say like, hey, being the offensive coordinator is 1,000 times better than being the head coach of the Tennessee Titans right now, that's not how he's going to view this. Like, this is a man who still probably wants to be a head coach, and he's getting the luxury of having multiple teams interview him for that very opportunity.
I will say this, like, it can't be a bad sign that McDaniels is taking this interview with Detroit. When there's 4 head coaching interviews lined up, he's still taking the time to like, all right, this job seems interesting enough to at least be worth my time, even though I'm flooded with head coaching interview requests like that.
Yeah,
that has to be considered. I mean, if you want to hire him, that feels like it's at least a good sign.
That's a great point, though, in terms of like he respects this opportunity just as much, right?
I mean, maybe.
Well, and you at least, I mean, if we're talking about controlling the fan base and controlling the narrative with the fan base, at least the team did the thing that they oftentimes get accused of not doing, which is they went out there and they at least, that they talked to the big fish. They brought the big fish in here and they're trying their best to get him in here. But Jeremy, to your point, like, I don't know how much you can offer a guy that from the outside looking in looks like he has a plethora of options to be a head coach elsewhere. I don't know if being the highest paid OC, more than likely for a season. Because let's
Right.
be realistic. Like if Mike McDaniel comes in here and does what we all would like him to do and what we think he's capable of doing, he's right back in the cycle. He's right back at the top of every team's list of being a head coach because coaches get fired every year, guys. Like there's going to be another team that's going to be looking for the next hot thing, and he
Yeah.
could be right back at the top of the list.
One of our Pride of Detroit Direct subscribers, and my apologies, I don't remember your name, emailed me back today and is like, you do remember that Dan Campbell kind of had that eerie line in his end of season press conference where he's like, maybe I'll call the plays because then we won't lose a play caller. And it's just like, that's something that's always in the back of my head, especially with a guy like Mike McDaniel, where you're like, do you want a 1-year rental? Is it almost feels like a trade deadline move where it's just like, all right, we're gonna bring this guy in for a season, a 1 year rental, see if we can run the table, see if we can make a Super Bowl run here, and if it doesn't work out, then we quote unquote wasted a year trying to fill it with a stopgap solution, or when we could have been getting a young guy that was a little too raw to leave us after a season. But I think in general you don't want to think that far down the line. Just get your guy. Just get a guy that you think is going to be the best for the job this year. And if he loses next year, that's great. If you lose him next year, it's a great problem to have. It's a problem, but it's a great problem to have compared to not getting the right guy and having another bad season.
I want to make a comment to what Meko said, because I agree with you, Meko, in the sense that it's nice to see them go outside the organization, bring in the marquee name. He's doing the interview, even though he's in the midst of all these head coaching, opportunities and these interviews. But you bring the guy in, and if you don't end up hiring him, it feels like I'm just listening to Brad Holmes' end of the season press conference on repeat. We tried, like we were super aggressive. It just didn't end up working out the way that it did. And then what is that met with? You know what I mean? I guess maybe as we're entering the off-season stages, I'm already starting to get a little bit of the I can see this rake coming. I can see this rake, and they're gonna step on the rake and. Not them necessarily, right? But like the interpretation, the perspective of the fans.
They're going to promote Scotty Montgomery, and then they're going to say we're good, and everyone's head is going to explode.
Who's going to say we're good? Be clear.
Anyone. It doesn't matter.
Chris Spielman says we're good.
We'll just attribute it to whoever we want because that's what we're doing apparently.
That is one thing I do think that they can't do. Like you can't do that. You can't go out here and interview a bunch of guys and then like, oh no, we just defaulted to a guy that was in-house. Like. This is what because you're going to feed that narrative that like, oh, this is what you guys wanted to do the entire time.
Right. But they can't cater what they do to what the narrative is going to be, right? Like if Scotty Montgomery is going to get an interview, right? Like if he hasn't already, right? He's going to get an interview. I agree. And if he's the one that blows your socks off, like you should make that hire. I'm not advocating for that hire, but if he's the best interview that you got and you feel the most confident in, that's who you should hire.
I think an argument could be made too that like there's enough with what Scotty's done in his 2 years here with both the running backs group and the wide receiver group, where like it's true. If that is in the camp of like bad decisions the Lions could make, it's the best bad decision that they could make. Or like not even bad, like unexciting decision. Like that's the best unexciting decision they could make.
There's certainly this push to go outside the organization with this hire, and I understand it, and I don't want to rehash the conversations we've had previously, but I do want to just underline the fact that they're in a tough position where they don't want to change the offense that much. They don't need to change the offense that much, but at the same time, they want to get a play caller in there that they can trust, that they know is going to see the game the same way Dan Campbell does, that makes the right calls in pivotal moments, and I can see why it would be easy to trust someone like Scotty Montgomery, but it would be more tempting, there we go, to pick someone like Mike McDaniel, who not only has a ton of play calling experience, but a ton of success doing it, and might bring a little bit of like spice and extra to what you're doing without maybe necessarily having to overhaul it. But there's going to be an adjustment period for that kind of selection as well.
And there's the other outside candidates too, right? Like we have two other new candidates who have emerged as potential hires for the OC job.
Who wants to talk about them?
I think the person that did the research on them should talk about it.
Fair enough. Fair enough. Yeah, let's. So Jake Peets, I'm assuming is how you pronounce it, the pass game coordinator for the Seahawks, and then T. Martin, the Ravens quarterbacks coach. I spent a lot of today just kind of looking at stories about these guys, watching a press conference from each just to kind of get their vibes and going through obviously their history. And I will say I'm definitely a little bit more intrigued by Jake Peets just by nature of like all the good people he's been around, kind of in the same way David Blau was at least mildly interesting to me. So like he's been with McVay in 2 different spots. He's obviously with Clint Kubiak this past year with the Seahawks. Joe Brady, he's been around when he was with the Panthers. And you look at some of the stops and there's some good, like Christian McCaffrey had his best year when he was the Panthers running backs coach, but I don't know how much credit do you give him to Christian McCaffrey, who's a beast. Derek Carr had like his really good stretch of years, including like a kind of small MVP campaign when he was the assistants quarterbacks coach.
That's when he reset the market, though. Like around 2016 was when he got that huge extension, remember? And then that was the basis for Stafford's extension.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And so like, and then what happened to Derek Carr's career? I mean, he didn't get that much worse, but obviously the injury ended his career, whatever. And I don't know, like I really watched his intro presser to being the LSU offensive coordinator. The only time he's called plays, and to be clear, did not go well there. LSU was 80th in scoring, and so it's not great in terms of his resume. But like that press conference, I could clearly see why the Lions wanted an interview, because like everything he talked about was being a collaborator, being a teacher, being detail oriented yet flexible, making sure that everyone has a voice. And so in terms of like culture fit, I think like he's a guy that might do really good in their interview with Detroit, assuming he gets an interview. And then just like one really small moment, there was a guy who asked a question and Pete's recognized his name and he's like, "Hey, are you doing this? Did you just do that big story on me? Because I just had like 40 of friends that I haven't even talked to text me and call me and say that you talked to them." And he's like, "Yeah." He's like, "Just want you to know, man, like I appreciate your work ethic." I'm like, that is a dude who, again, like a supreme culture fit. And it's not just that he's like, buttering up a reporter that makes me feel all warm inside. It's just like that genuine kindness, attention to detail, like that sort of thing I think would be a really, really good culture fit. Whether he can call plays, I don't know.
But also from the McVay tree too, right?
Yes.
Like the offensive assistant, pass game specialist. So like we've seen that, Meko. We've seen a lot of people with titles that you don't normally associate with moving from there to OC, getting opportunities, but a much more detailed resume with Pete's.
Yeah, and I think if you're once again going back to the idea, if you're concerned about potentially losing an offensive coordinator after one season, like having a guy that hasn't done it a ton, it at least lessens that likelihood, right? Not to say that guys don't get poached after one season, because Kelvin Shepard's about to get a head coaching interview with the Miami Dolphins, and he's only been a DC for one season. But oftentimes, like those types of interviews, Jeremy, are usually just like kind of feelers, right? Like just to get an idea of who a guy is, so that maybe if you're in the market in the future, you kind of like, okay, like how did they build on that first interview that we kind of had?
Yeah. And I mean, there is obviously some organizational familiarity in Miami with Kelvin. He played there for 2 years, had his best career season as a player there as well. But yeah, I mean, I think it does speak to Kelvin Shepard's reputation a little bit nationally. I think people recognize his leadership qualities, certainly recognize his ability to connect with players, things like that. It's probably too early for Kelvin to catch an actual job at this point. But, I could see down the line him kind of getting on that Aaron Glenn path where there is a franchise that just needs to reset everything, reset the culture, reset the roster, reset leadership. Maybe there was just like bad juju in a locker room for a decade. He's a guy that I think that would make an attractive hire. I just think the resume needs to be a little bit deeper. And I think you're right. Like there is some of that where it's just like if you're a good organization, you just meet with as many people as you can so that like they're in your Rolodex, to make a very outdated reference. And so yeah, I think I'd be surprised if Shepard goes anywhere. And just because I know someone's going to ask, it is worth noting that the Lions would not get any draft pick compensation if he does, because he's only been defensive coordinator for a year. I'm pretty sure you have to have that position for more than 2. I should double check that, because obviously he's been within the organization longer than 2, but I think you have to be coordinator for 2 years. I'll double check that and put it out on Twitter.
I'm gonna tell you right now, Ryan. I'm gonna get really annoyed of like how fans are looking at like black coaches though, if that's always gonna be the mindset of like, oh no, he's been here, like we need draft picks, let him go. And it's like, these are still people. This isn't compensation.
Yeah. Obviously, understandably so. And then we have T. Martin as the other guy that is has been linked to the Lions for their offensive coordinator opening. So do you want to run down your research on that too, Jeremy?
Yeah, I think, obviously I think the thing that people are going to jump to is, okay, he was offensive coordinator for 3 years at USC. What did that look like? And started out pretty well as Sam Darnold as his quarterback for the 2 years. First 2 years, they ranked 34th and 35th in scoring, 34.4 points per game, 32.6 points per game. Darnold obviously goes to the draft after that, and they drop all the way to 92nd in scoring. Midway through that season, the head coach there, whose name is currently escaping me, strips him of play calling duties. And then in something that it's a little weird to see from a coach, he took all of the USC references off of his social media after that happened, which, I mean, I don't know. You don't really want to see that from a coach. I understand the frustration, and everyone's a human being, and I want to not judge too much there, especially for something that happened 8 years ago. I'm sure he's grown as a person since then, but just kind of a weird note in his career. But while he was at USC, they had 3 different head coaches there. So I think that also speaks to his ability to be a wide receivers coach before that, and a pass game coordinator, wide receivers coach. Then, so like Lane Kiffin, Steve Sarkisian, and then Helton is the one that stripped him of play calling duties. And then, of course, like the kind of like buzzworthy, neat thing about his career is that he coached Amon-Ra St. Brown in his final year at USC. Amon-Ra St. Brown's first year, T. Martin's last year. And it was a great year for Amon-Ra as a true freshman, 750 yards, 3 touchdowns. But I think it's important pointing out that he coached Sam Darnold as that offensive coordinator, because now you see him with Lamar and you're like, okay, he's a QB coach for Lamar, but we're talking about a quarterback that's nothing like Lamar. Well, Sam Darnold's a little bit more like Jared Goff. So I think he can adapt. I think he can fit there. The fact that he's worked alongside Todd Monken is the one thing that gets me a little bit more excited. But I don't know. Like I'm a little less enthused about this one. I think the resume is a little bit worse. He doesn't quite have as varied of a resume. I know some of the knock on Jake Peetz is that he jumped from job to job to job to job. Like a lot of times it's just a one year stop, whereas you see a little bit more stability with T. Martin. So that's maybe a check mark in T. Martin's. But like the benefit of jumping from everywhere is that you're getting lessons everywhere you go a long way. You're getting influences from a lot of different people. T. Martin, I'm just that to me is maybe the most underwhelming of the group for me personally.
Yeah, I think you have a note here too, Jeremy, in quotes where you talk about him being energetic or passionate, and maybe some of that tracks well in an interview because
Sure.
of Dan Campbell's comments that he made in his final press conference, right? Where maybe we're reading the tea leaves a little bit, and
Yeah, getting back to the ground floor.
getting back to our old ways a little bit, and trying to capture some of that. And we talked about how Meko, you think back to the days. Hard Knocks. It's Deuce Staley and Aaron Glenn in each other's
Yeah.
face during training camp, and that level of competition that permeates, right? It's not just the players; it's everybody in the building trying to compete with one another, but also build one another up in this really supportive and unique environment. Maybe a guy who has that kind of energy and passion, and also is a former college quarterback. And
National championship winner
there you go, right?
at
So
Tennessee, yeah.
yeah.
That
So,
And that is something too, like getting a former quarterback. That's something that Eric Schlitt has talked about a couple times. Like getting a former quarterback, there's something about that is attractive, right? There's no one that knows everything that you need to know about an offense better than a quarterback.
And I think that, like, what you guys just highlighted with those two candidates is kind of what brings me back to the question originally, which is like why I think it is going to be important for the Lions to take their time and really interview, like, from the biggest of names to the guy that you have probably never heard of that's probably just been a quarterback's coach, because I think you do want to find a guy not that just does like the two things where it's like, oh, you want to find someone that calls plays and someone that can necessarily be innovative, but Ryan, what you hit on, where it's like you want to find someone that can bring in some fire and bring in some competitiveness and some accountability to a group that is very talented. I think one of the things that maybe we let slide under the radar and just kind of go unchecked was like John Morton's kind of like passive nature when he was coming into this offense, where it was like, oh no, like it's already really talented, and I'm just kind of like shepherding everything along. And it's like, no, you kind of need someone that's really going to like take the reins and drive this to another level that it hasn't quite reached yet, or to levels that it has reached in the past.
well, that seemed to have been confirmed during Wild Card Weekend because I think we're seeing a side of Ben Johnson that we weren't always privy to. I think we got some like mad scientist vibes from him, but I don't think we got intense competitor in the way that he's kind of shown in Chicago. Maybe that's some of the edge that they were missing on the offensive side of the ball at times this year.
Yeah, and I'm not gonna be honest. I'm not necessarily sure that's a side of Ben Johnson that I absolutely love, but it's not what I. That's not how I feel when it comes to Righteous
Oh,
Felon Crab Jerky. I love everything that comes with Righteous Felon Crab Jerky. They are one of the best places to get a high quality snack. And again, if you are always looking to hit your protein goals, Righteous Felon is the go-to place that I will always recommend when you're looking for a really good snack. And the Pride of Detroit podcast is brought to you by Righteous Felon Crab Jerky. It's the jerky that fuels the Pride of Detroit POD cast. Each 2-ounce bag of jerky has 16 to 20 grams of protein, and each stick has 8 grams. Trust me, if it's good enough for the Lions, it's going to be good enough for you too. Righteous Felon is based in Westchester, Pennsylvania. They use locally sourced, all natural Black Angus beef and prides itself on superior quality, revolutionary branding, and unique flavors that go beyond the stereotypical jerky offering. I actually am going to be snacking on some Marilyn Monroe during our break because I lied to Jeremy and Ryan when I said I was going to go to the gym on my lunch break. I didn't go on my lunch break. I had to go after work. So as I got back from the gym, this was like one of the first things I grabbed. I grabbed this. I grabbed a protein shake. It's so good. Like, again, this is probably one of 6 flavors that I think I got on my most recent order. So you just really can't go wrong when it comes to this brand. So if you go over to righteousfelon.com and use the promo code POD15 at checkout, you can get up to 15% off your order. Again, that's promo code POD15 at righteousfelon.com. Like Jeremy said, when we come back, we're going to talk about the news kind of surrounding Ben Johnson and some of the wackiness that kind of took place during this Bears-Packers game, as well as several of the other playoff games that took place this past weekend. We're going to talk about that and a whole lot more right after this.
All right. We are on break. I got a couple things I want to take care of during this break. One is obviously get through all the alerts, which I will in a second. I'm starting to send out all of the Movember rewards, things that people won either by raffle or auction. Auction members, I've sent out 4 of the 5 auction winners. I'm still waiting to hear back from the 5th. So if you're one of the auction winners and haven't gotten it yet or haven't read your email, go check your emails. I do want to run through the list of raffle winners that I have not heard back from yet. I am prepared to send out about 70% of them. But I want to just see if any one of you are here. And I do see Tactile Pumas here. Tactile, you're one of them. I don't believe I have an address to send you anything. So make sure you either respond to a Twitch DM or send me an email at prideofdetroitjeremy@gmail.com. The other ones, I'm just going to read off the names. If you're here, say something so I see you, either on Twitch or YouTube. Have you sent me something, Tactile? Because I couldn't find it. Sitherly, JC underscore 2533, Laser Mouse, 6651J, AD Jerome, Tactile Puma, and Invader Scooge. Invader Scooge.
I don't like that word.
Yeah, it's weird.
I love that name though. That's awesome.
if whether you're here live right now, yeah, Tactile, you want a medium shirt. Okay, great, AD Jerome. Thank you. Both of you won medium shirts. Yeah, so either hit me up via email or Twitch. Basically, all I need is your addresses. And if you're watching this on replay, you can do the same too. I'm not going to give anyone's prize away unless we get like 3 months down the road and I haven't heard that from anybody. But yeah, just wanted to make sure we get through that because I do have everyone else. And I'll be honest, I kind of want one of those shirts. So if we don't get all of the shirts claimed, I might keep one.
We get dibs first. Calling it.
Well, I'll say this. If AD Jerome and Tactile Puma both... Sitherly, you are here. I need an address from you, Sitherly. You want a Barry Sanders card pack, and I need to know where to send it to.
Yeah, just go ahead and dox yourself. Put it in the chat right now.
Either DM me, and I'll just type in here too, so you can just click on my name. Either DM me on Twitch or send an email to prideofdetroitjeremy@gmail.com. What was that? A new bottle?
Lions Blood said that he made you one and you gave it away in a raffle. So apparently you didn't want one that bad.
Well, I was in a giving mood. November's my giving mood. No, Tactile. Don't do that, Tactile.
222, we're good drive.
There's a lot of interviewing QB coaches for OC jobs. Why has there been no talk about Brunell? It's a good question. I think part of it, like if Jared Goff was a rookie quarterback and was playing the way he was, or like on a rookie contract, I think maybe he'd be getting more credit. But when you take in a veteran quarterback, I don't know, maybe you aren't viewed as important. It's a good question though.
I'm trying to remember, has he gotten interviews in other places?
I don't think so.
Since coming to Detroit?
I don't remember, but I don't think so. Because, I mean, there certainly was a perception that Goff was not good. So, all right, Tactile. I might just give it away. So, I feel bad. I don't want to keep prizes that I promised I would give away. All right, let me get through the alerts, and then we can talk some more. Nick the Greek, your first 100 bits. I am not going to read that. Let's just say he has opinions on what kind of energy Mike McDaniel is giving off. Dasgib, 51 months, subscribed on Twitch, says, Bears and Packers are frauds. Can we replace them? I mean, I don't think you want to replace the Packers at this point.
After watching that game, I was like, can we get the BCS back and put it in the NFL?
Well, I mean, what teams from the NFC would be more deserving, though?
The Lions are more deserving than the Packers and the Bears.
I don't think that's true. I think it's been too long since you've seen the Lions play.
Not really. They beat the Bears in Week 18.
They did,
and they beat them earlier in the season. So those two wins, regardless of the Bears' cupcake schedule, the rest of the season, BCS would have put the Lions in the playoffs.
Is the BCS just based on DVOA? Can we just make DVOA the seeding?
Sure. There we go. Hold on. Now we're cooking. Little oil.
We're definitely dipping into segment 2, but I walked away from that game feeling like the Lions would definitely beat the Bears, but for some reason I still feel like the Lions would lose to this Packers team. I don't know why I felt, but it was just
because that's what happened in the regular season. That's why.
But it was just the way that Green Bay was scoring in the first half, where I'm just oh, this is how they're gonna play defense. Like the
Yeah.
Lions would have ran this up.
Yeah. I still can't make sense of that game. Like I was
I
all
can't.
twisted up and confused. But the best stat from that game, offensive, well, not just that game, but like Bears versus Packers in their 3 games this season. I don't know if you've seen this, but offensive plays run with the lead in those 3 Bears Packers games this season. Packers 106, Bears 0.
Zero.
Offensive, and the Bears won 2 of the 3
Yeah,
games.
2-3.
Yeah.
And very nearly won the other one too.
Yeah.
But Caleb Williams gets picked off in the end zone. I hate it. I hate everything about it. I know, like you said, we're dipping our toes in segment 2 stuff. Do you have more alerts, Jeremy?
I do, plenty.
Okay.
Nick the Greek, another 100 bits. I can read this one. Mike McDaniel's ample collection of Gucci sweatsuits and sunglass combinations.
I like that better than the other ample stuff.
Choco Bobrisket Bowl 63 months says, is it more depressing having 4 All-Pros and not making the playoffs? I'm over being depressed
No.
about not being in the playoffs. It happens, whatever.
No, and I would also say no because the guys that were all pros played to an all pro level. You were still missing arguably 2 all pro safeties that could have had a huge impact on the way that like that defense would have played. And I think if you at least get like one other Pro Bowl caliber player to play on that offensive line, like you probably win the 1 or 2 games that you needed to get into the postseason.
Ooh, I like this question.
Yeah.
From Boulder, Detroit Lion. Would you rather be the Lions or Packers today?
Lions. I don't even think that's bias.
I never want to be a Packer, but like Lions.
Like total bummer that Micah Parsons. I know he's a freak, but like also there has to be some of the like I don't think he's going to be immune of the just hit the ground running as soon as he gets back from his ACL kind of thing.
True.
You're losing your best quarterback in free agency this year. Are we still sure like Romeo Doubs like will pop up every once in a while, but are we sure the Packers have a number 1 wide receiver yet, or are they still looking for it? Because
I think it will be Matthew.
I still think it's Jaden Reed.
I think it's Jaden Reed. Like
The
I
fact-
think he's
the
the
fact
most
that we all have
talented.
different opinions.
He made
though.
a terrible drop last night or 2 nights ago or whatever.
He did.
Yeah.
He did. It was the weekend of drops. None louder than AJ Brown's. Some of his alligator arms. One of my friends was like, I think he's trying to drop passes on purpose. I'm like, I don't think that's true, but from the looks of it, I don't know. He might be holding back a little bit, but yeah, I don't know. Like I think there's more talent on the Lions roster, in my opinion. I think there's more talent on the Lions roster than there is on the Packers roster.
I agree, but there's more youth in Green Bay. Like they were one of the youngest rosters in football this past year. And young doesn't necessarily mean all those guys are going to be good.
Sure. Did you hear that during the Indiana game? Like Indiana's roster, their average age is 23, and like the Packers was 25.
Oh, I didn't see that. They're like almost the same age.
Yeah.
That's interesting. I didn't realize.
I just would rather.
Go ahead.
I just would rather be a Lions fan right now because like it's another thing to lose in a postseason game and to also be like disrespected publicly by the other team. Like it's
I guess
like the Lions went out.
That's
and you're just like
if the question was literally today. And literally today, I'm much more comfortable being a Lions fan than a Packers day. Like literally on this day, because, Eric put it on our website, the 10-minute supercut of live streamers of Packers fans just going through it. And I'm just like, oh boy. I almost shared it, but then I'm like, I like the opposite version of these videos a little bit better when it's just like, it's people experiencing euphoria. I like sharing those videos a little bit more.
Yeah,
I wouldn't do it if a Bears one.
I didn't mind seeing Annie Yeager get her lunch served to her. She was part of
that too. She was not in that compilation, sadly.
She was not in that supercut, but
she was out. she was doing what I would never do in that situation, which was be around people that are rooting for the other team.
Never in a million years.
Like I had to do that during the NFC Championship game. Like I was in San Francisco, but like I can't be trusted in a bar during a playoff game with a bunch of Bears fans in this instance, but opponents. Like, no, like that is not a good place for me to be when my team's getting a 21-3 lead erased.
I rarely want to be around other Lions fans when that's happening. So like I definitely don't want to do it with the other team.
I'm definitely padded room over everything. All right, let me get through some more of these alerts. You gotta come get it. Thank you for the follow. I like your name. Monkey81, thank you for the 34 months. Says got the Alex Anzalone anniversary before he's gone. Oh, well, you got maybe two more months before that happens. John Johnson, thank you for the 16 months. HSW95 with the 12 months says Stafford will beat the shit out of the Bears and I will stop booing your wife. I'm sorry, Stafford, beat the shit out of the Bears and I will stop booing your wife and kids. Yeah, all right.
I feel like that's a fair trade.
You guys got the matchup we all wanted, right? We wanted Bears Rams.
I guess yeah, right, because Bears Seahawks can't happen yet. Like that couldn't have
like
mathematically happened.
Well, I didn't want to see Bears Eagles either. Like I didn't want to see the 49ers.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I would like in an ideal world, it would have been Packers Seahawks, and I don't care what the other one is. Just ideally
that's
the Bears
fair.
would have lost, but this is fine. I only got the Bears Packers game wrong in my predictions, so I feel pretty good about that too. Because I should have been right with that game too.
I need the Rams to play so much better than they did against Carolina, though. So much better.
I definitely had a little bit of PTSD watching that game. I immediately went back to 2016 Lions Bears when Stafford injured his hand, and then that tanked what was otherwise a highly entertaining season.
They were really harping on that in the broadcast, and I couldn't tell how much it was actually true and how much of them was like covering for Stafford just not playing particularly well. And then he went out and had the game-winning drive with relative ease, and I'm like, I think he's fine.
Or like Devontae Adams said, like, what do you call it? Like the most gangster line he's ever heard.
What did he say?
Stafford came out and said something like, let's end these guys or something like that, or
let's take their soul or something like that.
Like, he said like let's snatch their souls or something like that.
Yeah, he went straight Brian Dawkins.
Yeah. In probably like 10 out of 10 cases, you always want to go full Brian Dawkins on the football field.
Snatch
their hearts. Yeah. All right. I mean, that's pretty sinister too. I miss that guy.
You're not allowed to say that in public.
Nick the Greek, another 100 bits. Says it turns out John Morton was sleeping at the facility because he was worried about getting served with papers for his overdue alimony. Jesus. Michael, thank you for the follow on Twitch. JT Sam 10 bits says thoughts on the Jags reporter from Big J journalism side. I'm a journalism shirt would be very appropriate today. I don't want to get into it because I put my thoughts out there on Twitter and people feel very emotional about their takes, and I don't need more people coming at me. If you guys want to,
I will say this.
You guys don't have to throw your head into it if you don't want to. Like, to me, it's just such a hot button issue that 10-foot pole time.
I get why people like responded the way they did. And I think in totality, like more generosity in the world, right? Like more caring, more understanding, and all of those things. I didn't watch the clip till today because like I didn't want to have any immediate reaction. I got a warm feeling in my stomach though. I was like, oh man, this reminds me of like one of my aunts when they talk
Right.
to me. Like,
Yeah.
I don't know if Liam Coleman has an aunt in his life that talks to him that way, but I'm like, everybody deserves one person in their life that'll say this to them.
Ryan, you don't have to say anything.
I have two notes, but like they're quick. Like the one thing is like one of my big takeaways was like, why is this the line that people are drawing when it comes to being compassionate and supportive about people in the state of the world as it is today right now? And just, like I don't know, gotta call you out, Jeremy. You said that it's okay for Pete's to be supportive of the journalism, but you can't go the other way, huh? You can't go the other way.
Totally fair. I'm
Coach,
just not gonna.
no,
I'm gonna
just
offer
kidding.
any sort of pushback. I'm just gonna be like,
kidding.
"Yep, you're right."
The,
Move
the
on.
only thing that felt weird to me was that like it was so effusive. Like there was just so much of it, right? Like
Yeah.
again, like love like the message is great. That message deserves to be delivered to him in some way. Just don't know if that was the most appropriate time.
Hey man,
That's
she
it.
gave auntie vibes. I know that's somebody's
100%.
auntie. That's like somebody's.
Like
She makes great sweet potato pie. I know that for a fact. Like
you know
without
that?
ever knowing
Yeah.
what that woman looks like, she makes amazing sweet potato pie.
Anyways, we'll
More
leave it
alerts?
at that. More alerts. The next one comes from guy's name 16 months says, Jeremy, would you agree that fandom like we saw in the Jaguars press conference should be held to appropriate spots like the 49ers press box? Which, if you don't understand, is a reference to when the NFC Championship game, when we went there and were surprised to find the amount of people that were cheering in the press box. And like people just like in the press box sporting 49ers jerseys, which is, listen, I'm done like talking about journalism ethics for the day, but it was whether that's right or wrong, it was just a surprise to us because that stuff doesn't fly in Detroit.
Business ethics. And to be clear, it was like 49ers people.
Yes, correct.
Yes.
It was
Yeah.
not any Lions fans cheering or Lions reporters.
Yeah, Jeremy did the responsible thing and wore his jersey under his clothes.
That's right. I have worn like Lions shirts under my dress shirts at a Lions game before.
He had his Benito Jones overalls on underneath his collared shirt.
How do we keep missing that as like as a goal?
I know it
for
was.
November?
It was one.
Yeah, we had that.
I sported
Okay.
it.
I need
By
a
the way,
pair.
Toxic and Steven over on YouTube, thanks for the kind words. I feel like I always gotta make sure that I'm shouting out the people that are saying the nice stuff instead of always focusing on the loud and angry ones. DC Smithers £2 super chat says, you returning to the combine, Jeremy? I think I am. I think I'm going again.
Couldn't get enough shrimp cocktail, huh?
I thought the combine was worth my time. I'll put it that way. It wasn't like my favorite thing. I'm not.
That's a glowing endorsement from you.
Yeah.
When is
To
it
be
again?
clear.
The end of February. No. The end of. Wait. Yes. The end of
Yeah.
February. The end of February.
Right? Yeah.
I really want to go. I think my kids might have a dance competition.
Like you would rather go to that than the Senior Bowl, right?
That's what I was going to say. The Senior
Okay.
Bowl was. I will never go again. Like, maybe if the Lions are ever coaching it again because you get a little extra availability. But when I went, it felt disorganized. It felt like I didn't enjoy myself at all. Like the
But I thought
social
you got to have
aspects
your
of it.
favorite chicken place whenever you go to the Senior Bowl.
I did go and have what I have for the first time there.
Did you have Bojangles for the first time?
No, I think it was
Raising Cane's.
I think it was Raising Cane's.
Mm.
And I maintain that it was better there than it was in Michigan, which probably isn't true, but felt true. I don't know. I didn't get an opportunity to talk to players much. the way it was organized was very poor. And the only thing I got out of it was the fact that the Lions coaches were there. And it was, God, I don't even remember who were the guys that we talked to. I feel like it was the first time we got to talk to some of the coaches. But anyways, Combine is much more set up well. The social aspect of it is a little bit better. It's still not really my jam, but it made me have stronger opinions on the draft class. Like, Riley really wanted to draft Alec Iomenor because like I had talked to him and he seemed like a really good culture fit and had his head on straight. And I don't know how he ended up doing in his rookie season wherever he went, but like I feel like I'm very much the way I learn, the way my memory works is if like there's a specific event there, like if I'm sitting there and standing in front of the draft prospect, I'm going to have a much better ability to remember who he is and what he's about than watching his highlights, you know?
Yeah. Oh, it makes sense.
But so all that being said, I do believe I'm going to go again this year. 100 bits from Nick the Greek. Not going to read that one. McVay Rob, 34 months, says hoping my Anzalone anniversary that he's still on the team next year. And then 100 bits from Nick the Greek says Arif Hassan is the belle of the ball at the NFL Combine. I did run into him last year.
That'd be a good person to run into.
Yeah. All right. We're caught up.
Caught up on alerts?
We're caught up on alerts.
Okay. I don't like on the second half you want to start with like Kelvin Shepard stuff? Because we didn't really get a chance to talk too much about that, right?
Yeah, we can touch on it real quick. I don't feel like there's a ton we need to say there, right?
I don't think so, but I think it's worth noting, right?
Yeah.
Like,
wait, we did. I mean, we talked about it a little bit, right? Because I stumbled all over the whether the Lions get draft picks or not.
Yeah, that's my bad for introducing it at that time. I forgot that there was another OC.
You're fine. I don't. Is there something you wanted to say about it? Because I don't think we necessarily need to go back to it. But also, we did just go 45 minutes, and I don't know if we're going to need to go 45 minutes on the playoffs. I mean, if we just have one long segment and one short one, that's fine too. I don't really care.
I think we can put it in there because like we'll probably have like 35 minutes with it and playoff discussion. Like I feel like max. Like we don't talk about it a ton.
Okay.
But
is there a specific way you want to lead into that so that I can like?
I think just from the standpoint, like I think the interesting dot connecting is just the Green Bay executive goes to Miami. NFC North, it's like how many other candidates have they interviewed for their head coaching position? I don't know. Just yeah.
I have that listed on the coaching tracker.
Do you have that on there?
I do. Hafley, Harbaugh, Saleh, Stefanski, Shula, Kubiak. 6 other candidates. I don't know if they've interviewed, to be clear.
Yeah, I mean that's an awful lot of like big time names, and then Kelvin Shepard. And I think Meko, just from the standpoint of like, there's some people I think that at the end of the season they were like, is there something other than Kelvin Shepard maybe out there?
Okay.
So.
Nah, I got you.
Iomenor did better than I expected. 515 yards and 4 touchdowns. Good for him.
Just don't look at his drop rate.
Nope, not gonna bother.
Okay.
Oh God, I looked.
Okay. Oh God, I hit sort, and then his name was at the very top.
Arganis, thank you for the 18 months. Says trying to find a way to DM you. You can do it on Twitter. I think my DMs are still open, or you can just email me. Pride of Detroit, Jeremy@gmail.com. But thank you for the 18 months.
Yay.
I take it you guys are like heavy in on the Texans tonight. Game's already started, but
As in like wanting them to win.
Yeah.
Oh yeah,
Oh,
100%.
why is Nico Collins on the sideline? I don't like that.
Aaron Rodgers the last year?
I mean, I would love it to be, but like
Holy
the
smokes, what a
Steelers
catch.
truly have like no other option at quarterback. Like I feel like that's like the downside that no one ever talks about the Steelers like having so many winning seasons under Tomlin is like, yeah, but you guys are never getting a chance to get like the next good quarterback.
It
So
is
you're
true.
kind of like you're literally stuck in limbo.
Do you think if they lose, is there any chance Tomlin is gone?
No, because I don't think you can risk going the other like the Ravens can do what the Ravens did because you have Lamar Jackson. You don't have that luxury. So like not only are you starting over with a new like head coach, you have no quarterback. Like you don't have like a young prospect that you've been grooming the last couple of years. You don't have unless you're just going to sell the farm, which you don't even really have great players to trade away outside of Ramsey, TJ Watt. Does
But
anybody like do you
but
think you could get something for
is
for
Tom
DK?
is Tomlin also culpable for the fact that they've had no future plan at quarterback?
I think yeah. No, 100%. I just think like before you let Tomlin go, you have to kind of you gotta like if you don't want to just fade into the abyss of the NFL, like you at least gotta have a young QB that you can at least be like, no, this is what we're banking on for the future.
Yeah. Yeah.
I think from the other perspective, though, and I think about Mike McDaniel in Miami, Mike McDaniel did not choose Tua. I think it would be
Sure.
a twofold attractive job because one, the list of head coaches for the Pittsburgh Steelers can be rattled off on what one hand,
Right.
and that's
Yes.
something that they always kind of claim as being, this is different here,
Yeah.
for better or for worse, right?
Right.
It's
Hmm.
something that my dad always reminds me of every time the Pittsburgh Steelers are on the television. But I think the other thing is that you get that prestigious opportunity and you get to pick your quarterback.
You mean you get to pick Malik Willis, is what you're saying.
Okay, hold on now. Like now that's something that's really interesting to me.
Someone else said it in chat, so I've just John
But
Johnson 52 said it.
okay, great point. Counterpoint, please let it not be Mike Tomlin and Arthur Smith. Arthur Smith will ruin Malik Willis. That is not something I'm interested in.
No, but I more so I think I do think if that were the route that they wanted to go, which
Hmm.
I still think is a little risky, like in the idea of that, like, okay, we're gonna fire Tomlin and we're gonna take a a little bit of a reach on a guy that's been a career backup for the most part, but has had some bright spots as like the future of our organization. Like best case scenario, I mean, best case scenario, like it works out, right? Like Malik Willis is everything that everyone like thought he could possibly be in that draft class.
Hmm.
Worst case scenario, like you probably get that hard reset that you're looking for.
Yeah. I don't like as a Steeler, like it's the same thing in Baltimore. We keep on talking about that, but like if how would you feel if we got to a point like this with Dan Campbell? Do you know what I mean? Like you're 9-8, you make the playoffs. Do you really have a shot? And the Pittsburgh Steelers have been like that for how long? A decade?
But yeah, but this is where like I think it's worse if you're the Steelers. Like yes, if the Lions ever got to that part, get to the point where the Steelers are now, where it's like, okay, you're good enough to not have a losing season, but you're not quite good enough to get over the hump and not bad enough to like restart.
But not
The
even
thing
like
that you
not quite good enough, like decidedly not good enough.
Yeah.
right, the issue I think that I have with the Steelers with where they are right now is that you also don't have enough. it doesn't feel like they have enough valuable talent to like swing the pendulum one way or the other.
Right. They're just stuck in purgatory.
Like you have a great one of the top 5 best pass rushers on your defense. And like, I don't know, Jalen Ramsey has been traded so much at this point where it's like, yes, he's a very good player, but like he no longer has
Yeah, but
first round pick value.
even a guy like TJ Watt is like getting long in the tooth. Like it's just like the whole roster is wonky. And it's like,
Yeah.
I don't know, they drafted Kenny Pickett in the first round. Please don't let people we need to remind people of that. That happened too. That was a thing that happened in the NFL.
That is true. What has happened to a lot of their first round picks, I think needs to be studied in Pittsburgh because like I truly like outside of Joey Porter Jr., which wait, no, he was a second round pick. Wasn't he?
I don't remember. Look at draft history.
I think he was a second round pick.
He was.
Yeah.
But
I honestly
he was technically wait, can't be 32 overall, was he? Was that a year that someone must have vacated a pick. So he was technically pick 32.
Oh.
But that was the second round.
Okay.
What draft was that? Was that 2023?
Yep. Yep. Not a bad draft, honestly.
You mean like for Pittsburgh in general?
For Pittsburgh. I mean, it wasn't
Okay.
a Detroit Lions 2023 draft.
I was gonna say, I mean,
But I think that's like I don't know, like it's weird because like even in like this past draft, right? Like they got Derek Harmon in the first round. They got Jack Sawyer in the 4th round, who kind of contributed late. I don't know if Caleb Johnson did anything. I was gonna say I don't think Caleb Johnson did anything for them.
28 carries,
3rd-round
69 yards, so no.
And like, I mean, they tried, I guess, taking a developmental quarterback in Will Howard in the 6th round, but like, yeah, I don't know, man. Like, I think to Ryan's point about them taking Kenny Pickett in the 1st round, like that does make me want to like go back and look at all of their drafts because like I don't know if they draft well.
Yeah, it's okay.
I don't know.
It's okay.
What? Can you remind me why? If you remember, like Miami's the one who forfeited their selection that year. Was it something with their ownership and like tampering? I feel like that sounds
That might have
vaguely
been.
familiar.
Yeah. That's what Colorado Lions says, Dolphins tampering.
So, again.
Oh, for Tom Brady.
Ew. Yeah,
I do remember that.
the Stephen Ross stuff
Yes.
and like Michigan. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
God, because they were trying to get Brady to come play there, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so
And he
again,
just went to Tampa instead.
as far as like wanting a head coaching job because you get to pick your quarterback. They had Tua on the roster at that point.
Yeah, that's why, like, I mean, to go back to the whole, like, with McDaniel interviewing tomorrow for the OC job, like, I think I retweeted it, but someone else said it, like, I feel like it's, if I were him, it's Ravens job, Lions OC job, and then, like, I guess everything else. Because, like, none of those places, like, there's a number of those places have young quarterbacks, but, like, none of them have, like, an established, like you're almost like kind of going, it's going to be like Miami 2.0 in a number of those situations, if not worse. There's
part of me that just doesn't think Mike McDaniel has earned the prestige of going head coach to head coach. Like, it feels like he's earned a year of war. Let's send you down to the minors as an offensive coordinator for 1 year. But
it's very clearly not thought that way around the league.
I guess not. I mean, maybe it is, maybe it isn't, right? Because, I mean, he is a minority coach. He does satisfy some rules. Like, I don't know how serious some of these interviews are going to be, but I also don't want to discount that too, because at the same time, there is a serious thirst for offensive minded, brilliant people to be your head coach so that you don't lose them, right?
Yeah, which is why I think the teams that he's interviewing with like make sense if you're the team because you're just like, hey, you're an offensive minded coach. Could you mold our young quarterback? Could you mold Cam Ward into the next great thing? Can you
Yeah.
possibly? I don't. I don't. Has Cleveland like actually committed to Shador? But like like, can you do something
Who
with
knows what they're
Shador?
thinking?
Can you can
Dude.
you fix Michael Penix? Like,
But
or
who
just work in tandem with Kirk Cousins? Like,
who wants that Cleveland job? Like,
I can
is
say the
it
same thing. I can say that about all. Like, I can say that about the Cleveland job, the Titans job.
well? But you have a number one pick at quarterback. Like, at least you have Cam Ward. Like,
Yeah, but you have to
who do the
play.
Browns have?
Yeah, but you got to play
Myles Garrett.
Jacksonville and Houston twice a year. Like,
I don't. Hey, I want to say this real quick. Maybe a little bit of 2023 Detroit Lions with the Jacksonville Jaguars. Maybe a little bit of like, hey, it's nice that you make it, but like just because you made it one year doesn't mean you're going to make it back another year.
Yeah.
yeah,
It's not a super promising game from
Trevor Lawrence,
Trevor Lawrence.
has he had like promising games in the playoffs? I don't know. I saw a wild stat about like first time playoff quarterbacks playing experienced quarterbacks in the NFL, and like the 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 buck got or the trend got bucked all weekend long. Like I think they were like 20 and 40 against the spread. First time playoff quarterbacks playing experienced quarterbacks. Bryce Young. Like that game is let's just talk. Look, we got the podcast. We should go to the second
Yeah.
segment. This is the second segment.
Okay. I'm ready to go back in. Really quick though, two more alerts. Nick the Greek 100 bits says, Ryan, tell us how your gambling addiction is going. Share your last 3 bets with us.
I got Texans money line, so
Well, the Steelers are in the red zone, but are settling for a field goal. Not that I'm watching the game while you guys are talking. Duckline,
Sure.
35 months. Give me your top 35 candidates for OC. Ready, go. Absolutely not. All right.
Mike
You guys-
McDaniel 1 through 29.
Okay, you guys got to relax on Mike McDaniel. The other fish in the sea, all right?
I know. I just want the big one.
yeah, but Mike McDaniel's really hot. So
Keith, I'll read that on the other end. But thank you for the $10 super chat. All right. I'm ready to go.
All right. And welcome back to the Pride of Detroit POD segment 2 here. Now, guys, we left off in segment 1 talking about the offensive coordinator position. We did touch on the fact that Kelvin Shepard, the Lions defensive coordinator, is getting a head coaching interview with the Miami Dolphins this week, but I think it's kind of worth circling back to that because I think we might have breezed past it a little quicker than we actually meant to. But Ryan, like, what are some of your thoughts with Kelvin Shepard kind of getting this opportunity? Considering like a lot of people have been a little on the fence with Shep this offseason. Some people want the Lions to find another defensive coordinator. I think we've been fairly vocal that like the Lions don't need a move like that. They just kind of need to improve the defense schematically. What was kind of your reaction to the news that Shep is getting that interview with the Dolphins?
I found it really surprising. I didn't think that there was I didn't think there was a real chance considering the level of candidate that's out there, right? And there's so many candidates that are readily becoming available and that may become available at some point, right? You don't know in a situation where the Ravens lose, Harbaugh's out. Is there an opportunity that Nick Sirianni is no longer the head coach in Philadelphia? I don't know. Maybe. Is that an opening that's all of a sudden become available? Is Nick Sirianni a name that would be available? There's the Brian Dables. There's the. It seems like we're trending towards Matt LaFleur returning. I think the big takeaway is that amongst all these big fish in the sea, here's Kelvin Shepard who had a up and down rookie season as first time defensive coordinator, learned a lot, definitely showed signs of progress, showed some regression, but also like there was enough there to say, okay, maybe a second season, a second go around, hopefully with some more horses on the field, right? And it was just surprising from that standpoint where it was like first year defensive coordinator getting this opportunity so soon, I guess.
Yeah, I don't know about you, Jeremy, but when I first saw it come across, like the first thing that registered in my head was like, oh, this is probably just a team trying to become familiar with the next potentially hot name that is maybe available in the next 2 or 3 years. Because I think when you look at Shep, just from how he carries himself, how he seems to approach the game, regardless of how you feel about how he did this past season, I do think he does have the making of a future head coach, the way he relates to players, the way that he seems to approach the game and that mindset. So there is a part of me that just thinks like maybe Miami is just trying to get ahead of the curve in terms of all the other teams in the organization.
Yeah, I think that's a good read on the situation.
You're
You're
muted.
muted.
I'm not muted to the stream, but I'm muted to you guys. I think that's a good read on the situation, Miko. I do think, and I think Shepard could very well be a better head coach than a defensive coordinator. Obviously, we're far down the line before figuring that out, but I don't know. My first thought was just like, oh, what the heck do the Lions do if he somehow wins that job or gets another job? I don't know if the Lions are prepared to lose Kelvin Shepard this quickly. And to be clear, I'd be very surprised if they did.
Raheem Morris.
Yeah,
All,
go out and get,
all the money on Raheem Morris and Mike McDaniel. Do it now.
hey, I'm with you. But I think the Lions fully intend on having Kelvin Shepard back this upcoming season. And so it would be interesting to see them kind of have to pivot, change course, if that's the way things go. But yeah, I'm happy for Shep. I'm glad that he's getting one interview because that usually leads to at least another interview. Like, oh, Miami's interested. What do they know that we don't know? Let's go see what he's got. And I have all the confidence in the world, having spent a lot of time with Kelvin Shepard, that he's probably going to knock that interview out of the park. Now, does that mean he's going to get the job? No, I don't think so. But I don't know. It's a very interesting develop that I think caught a lot of people by surprise, because a lot of people in Detroit don't even want him around for a second season as defensive coordinator, which I think is a little overreactive, but certainly he's going to have to be better this upcoming season.
Yeah, I will say that I think in addition to that, you had said something during the break about, Shep kind of being a bit of like a good culture fit guy, a guy that if you're looking to possibly like reset the culture in a team, that he might be a guy that you want to go with. Again, not saying that it's likely that he lands in Miami, but that is one of the issues that Miami kind of has outside of like needing to just be better on the field. There was a lot of internal turmoil. So if you're just looking for someone to be a pillar of consistency and kind of hold guys accountable, to your point about like his character, that is something that Kelvin Shepard could bring to a team if they were interested in bringing him in to be their head coach. Want to talk playoffs? Because I feel like there's a number of things in a number of games that we could kind of like pick from. Do we want to start Bears Packers, or do we want to like ease our way into this conversation? Because that was the first game, and that was the one that I like that kind of set the tone for me for like, or not, that wasn't even the first game. I think the first game was Rams Panthers, but
Yeah.
Bears Packers still kind of sticks out in my mind for both what happened on the field, off the field, and then again today. Like, so I feel like we just kind of got to start there because it's closest to home.
Go ahead. I have a take about Rams Panthers real quick. And I'll say just from like a Lions fan perspective with that game, it it made me feel not as bad that the Lions didn't make the playoffs. I'm just glad that the Panthers didn't get trounced 35 to nothing. And it's like the
Right.
Lions tried to change this rule. They tried to make it so, well, not necessarily like to the extent where like a division winner doesn't make the playoffs, right? But like
Hmm.
hosting the home playoff game, like that's the first step to like breaking down the walls of division winners getting automatic playoff bids. But I think that that was a good tone setter. I mean, the NFL had an incredible weekend. I think like almost like top to bottom as far as NFL playoffs go. Couldn't be much better than how it played out, especially on Saturday. But that at least eased my like uneasiness with,
Yeah.
playoff weekend, no Lions, Jeremy.
I feel like I took the same information from the entire weekend and had a little bit of a different take on it. And not necessarily in a positive or negative way, but like because every game was so competitive, it made me believe that the talent differential between like the good to great teams in this league is not that different.
Hmm.
Now, obviously, we haven't seen the one seeds yet, and so we'll see what it looks like when the Broncos and Seahawks enter the fray here. But because Carolina was able to compete with the Rams, and because the Packers and Bears were close, and every other game was close, and who knows what happens in this Monday night matchup. I may be witnessing a flea flicker live that just was an absolute disaster. So check mark for me. That's a big win for me. Anyways, sorry. Very much distracted by the game on. I shouldn't be doing that. The point being, though, that I think because we're coming off of a Chiefs dynasty that is fresh off a Patriots dynasty, that I think like we've gotten in our head that like there is this tier of one or two or three teams every year that are untouchable. And I don't think that's true right now in the NFL. I think there's just a bunch of good to great teams, and I include the Lions among them. And so, like, if the Lions would have gotten into the playoffs, do I think they would have won the Super Bowl? No. But was it within the realm of possibilities? Yeah. I don't know if there's a team out there where I'm like, oh, the Lions definitely couldn't beat them. That's what I learned this week.
There, I, I think the thing I learned this weekend was that the adage that like, oh, a team is only one piece away, and I think this kind of piggybacks off of what you were saying, Jeremy, that like, oh, every team is just one piece away, literally applies to everybody. Like it feels like that you can talk your way into that thought process. Cause like watching the Panthers Rams game, it's like, man, if they just had another like shutdown corner or another premier pass rusher, like, man, they could probably actually beat this Rams team. Watching the Jaguars, and it's just like, man, if Trevor Lawrence was like a little more consistent, or if they again, if they had another piece in the secondary, maybe they can, be a team that can actually do something. Like, I don't know if I don't know if I've always known this, but like the idea, like when we look at teams, it's like, man, they're just like one piece away. If they can just get this one thing like taken care of, they can be a true contender. And it's like, that to Jeremy's point, like that's not something that you can just apply to one or two teams. Like I literally think you can probably apply that to most teams that are in contention. And that includes the teams that don't make the playoffs, but like we're close. And that's just kind of what's kind of stood out in this recent stretch of games.
All right, we should jump into Bears Packers. I can feel us itching to want to talk about it.
I don't even know necessarily. Okay, what like I'll just say it this way. Ryan, how would you describe what we saw between Bears Packers? Because there is definitely a portion of the fan base that I think watched that game. It's like, oh, the Lions would have beat either one of these teams. And I I don't know if that's necessarily the biggest takeaway that you should have away from that game, but I also don't know what it should be based on like how that game went.
I feel like the word just isn't incredulous. Like I just felt incredulous after that football game. Like I was not willing to believe what had happened in front of my eyes. For a variety of reasons, right? But then I think the more I think about it as well, it's like I almost have to believe that this is just who the Bears are.
I
It's
can't.
not. I don't want to, Jeremy. I don't want to, but after that game, it's just like, is this just who they are? They did it on the biggest stage, in the biggest moment, and they win this football game against all odds. I talked about it over the break. The stat about Packers Bears for the 3 game series that they played this season. Offensive plays run with the lead in those games. The Packers ran 106 plays. The Bears ran exactly 0. And the Bears won 2 of the 3 games and could have won 3 of 3 had Caleb Williams not thrown an interception. It, these Bears make no sense to me. Uh, I don't. Their running game wasn't especially good, I think, in my opinion.
No, they got shut down.
But that was the thing I thought I believed in them,
Right.
right? Like I watched that Black Friday game. I saw them absolutely dominate the Philadelphia Eagles in a way that I hadn't seen in quite some time. And but they're not that team, right? It's like trying to like pin down water. I don't know who this football team is. I just know that they are incredulous, and maybe I have to accept how incredulous they are.
No, they're the team they were in the first half. I'm sorry. They are. Like, they're a bad defense. They're an offense that's inconsistent with a quarterback that makes brilliant jaw-dropping throws and fits in 3 terrible misses between the next one. The Bears are 3-3 when they're down 10 plus points in the final 5 minutes of the fourth quarter. The rest of the league in that situation is 3-158. That is not sustainable.
Sounds like a skill.
It is not sustainable, and I stole that from Doug Clawson of CBS Sports, that stat. But I'm sorry, I don't care how many times in a row it happens. Congratulations, you flipped head 8 times. Eventually it's going to land tails. Eventually it's going to land tails a bunch. And tails and tails and like you are going to level up to 50% in these 50-50 matchups. I do not believe in them for a second. I'm sorry.
Jeremy, they only have to do it 2 more times. Like they
only
only have to do it
3.
Okay,
No.
3 more times. I meant 2 more times just to get to the Super Bowl, but like
Listen, the Lions were the team that was gritty and won all these close games. They were that team for the past, year and a half, 2 years? They weren't it this year. Did they lose all their grit? Are they suddenly just like a team that isn't as mentally strong? Like, no. It just evens out. I'm sorry. Like that doesn't and also like credit the Packers for just being terrible down the stretch. Making stupid decisions, blowing their timeouts when they shouldn't blow them. Like, they lost that game just as much as the Bears won it. And I know I hate doing that, but
Starting the wrong quarterback, Meko. Yeah, go on.
I was gonna say that it kind of stood out to me more so. I do feel like the Packers lost this game more than I feel like the Bears won it, just because they were being handled in the first half. Like it it looked like Ben Johnson was like in over his head in that game. But lo and behold, like by the time it got to the fourth quarter, and I think they got within like a touchdown or whether it was like within a touchdown or within 3, I was like, this could absolutely go the other way. Just because I've seen it happen so many times. And as much as we can say like that the Bears don't have the type of defense that can necessarily like keep you off the field, like the Packers don't either now that they don't have Micah Parsons. Like you don't have a dude that can just like close the game for you. And so in a way, like I don't think any of us should have been surprised that it happened this way based off of like just how the Bears have played all season.
But they're just also so lucky. They are so lucky. Like the 4 points from the Packers came off the board because they missed a field goal and they missed an extra point. How much did they lose by? You want to remind me? 4 points. How do they do? Like how? It doesn't make sense to me. There's no way that this can continue. And I just like I'm going to be wearing my Matthew Stafford jersey this weekend. I want them to lay the smackdown so freaking hard on the Bears. So hard on the Bears. And I think they will.
I'm trying to remove emotion from that game, Ryan, because I went into that game like not sure knowing who I wanted to root for. And as that game was developing, I was like, oh, I want the Bears to lose so bad. And not only did they not lose, they won in miraculous fashion as they had done all season. I then had to endure another handshake gate where I said it before the break. I don't know if I like this version of Ben Johnson. Like I kind of want the version that we had here in Detroit where like he was competitive, but like didn't doesn't cross as many lines as I feel like he's been crossing these last week and a bit.
I cannot tell a lie. If Ben Johnson was acting like that in Detroit, I'd be all about it. I'm gonna be
100%.
very honest. Yeah, like it's total Bill Lambier syndrome, right? Like, love the guy if he's on your team. If he's not on your team, I don't know if I can condone that kind of behavior, Mr. Ben Johnson. Um, Go ahead.
I don't know if I can condone it as a head coach. If he was doing this at the offensive coordinator, like, oh, well, like you're commanding one of like the best offenses. So like, sure, I can look at it in the sense like the offensive coordinator is the hothead. I don't know if I would love like if Dan Campbell was doing this after games. Like we've seen Dan get super fired up post
Yeah.
game
Yeah.
and be in the moment with the guys and still find a way of like respecting the opponents. Like I
At least from what we know that the Lions put out on their
yes,
social
and
No,
media.
Dan Campbell would never say this. But I don't care. Like that's just not who Dan Campbell is. I don't mind someone laying into the rivalry like that.
So it's the words though, it's not the sentiment, right? It's what Ben Johnson said in terms of the verb.
yeah. Yeah. It's that for me where it's like can we have a little decorum? Can we have a little
Oh,
decorum
whoa.
as the
Oh,
head
I don't
coach?
think you want to be on that side of history, Miko. You really do not want to be on that side of history. Uh, I want to share something I thought that was interesting from the fallout from Packers Bears. There was a stat that if you speak basketball, but also just if you understand numbers, like it could resonate with you. Um, but just this idea that you look at both of those quarterbacks in the game.
Yeah.
Jordan Love was 24 of 46. Caleb Williams was 24 of 48. You're talking about completion percentage that were sub 53%. Um, this was from Derek Klassen from the Athletic podcast, and he said there were 93 games this season in which a quarterback threw at least 40 passes. On 48 passes versus the Packers last night, only 4.2% of Caleb Williams' throws were at or behind the line of scrimmage, the lowest mark in any such game. And then he found out that, oh, check that  4.2% is the lowest mark in 5 years.
Whoa.
And that stat spoke to me in this very interesting way because you also saw Jordan Love air it out, right?
Right.
I mean, he missed receivers as well. There were some drops that also occurred. But you look at their ADOT for that game, Caleb Williams 11.5. Jordan Love's 11.3. The only guy that trailed in wildcard weekend was Matthew Stafford at 11.7. Who also threw for 57.1%. Like that's a little bit lower than I think the typical Matthew Stafford game.
No doubt.
I think there's some interesting theories that are being presented in that if you're speaking in basketball terms, there was that analytics surge of 3-pointers are worth more than 2-pointers, right? It's better to shoot 40% at 3 than it is to shoot 50% at 2.
Right.
It's not necessarily translatable because it's points to, you know what I mean? But like
Sure,
in terms of
Yeah.
successful football,
Right.
is it better to be more explosive and to hope that you can hit on more explosive plays at the expense of what the Lions have done
Right.
with Jared Goff? And I'm not saying it's right, wrong, and different, but I think there's at least like some interesting discussion that's coming out of that game in particular because it was at such a frenetic pace and such a crazy ending.
There are two things I want to say here. One is my favorite point in that game was when Al Michaels was talking about Caleb Williams' low completion percentage. It's just like, yeah, it's just something that people point to. But tonight, and then he looked at the stats and he's like, oh, tonight he's under 50% so far. Like he was like, it had seemed like he had been playing such a good game that like he was sure that when he looked down to his stat sheet, Caleb Williams' pass completion percentage was going to be like 60, 70%, and it wasn't. But what you bring up is interesting because there was a revolution over the past 5-6 years of ADOT slowly going down every single year because teams are playing more too high shells. They're trying to take away the big stuff. And so it was kind of the defense that was driving that. And so if there is going to be this revolution of like bringing it back up and teams being like, we don't care, we're going to test your too high safeties, be really interesting. There's a reason why I call a lot of what Green Bay does as immoral football, because I think a lot of times when you do that, part of the calculus he's probably doing there is like, maybe we get a pass interference. Maybe we get a 30-yard pass interference penalty.
Yards are yards.
Yards are yards. And, maybe that's why you shouldn't have 30-yard pass interference penalties. But that's for a different podcast.
I was starting to wonder, Ryan, like are you essentially asking like should more quarterbacks be like Jared Goff or should Jared Goff be more like other quarterbacks in the NFC North?
I think, as always, the truth is somewhere in between, right? Um, but I think you've seen it work, and I think that particularly is why McDaniel is such an attractive uh,
Hmm.
potential OC candidate. Is you've seen the way that he utilizes pre-snap stuff and motion,
Yep.
and you have him, running across the line of scrimmage with Tyreek Hill, and he can catch a pass 5 yards downfield, but it goes for 60 yards, right? Again, yards are yards, and I think the more creative you are around the line of scrimmage, and I talked about this when we had our emergency podcast, Jeremy. But who was the running back who was second in the NFL amongst running backs at lining up out wide? It was Devon A. Chain. You know who's number one? The NFL's All-Pro first team, Bijan Robinson.
Right.
You know, tapping into some of that stuff, the creativeness can offset your quarterback's ability or inability or just YOLO-ness to throw the ball so far downfield in hopes that something good happens. Like, I don't think it was an indictment. I don't think that game is an indictment on like Jared Goff and how successful or effective he can be. But I think it's just interesting to see, as Jeremy pointed out, like our team's just going to say like, I don't care. Like you have the too high shell, but maybe something good will happen. And
Yeah.
and it's worth to take that chance on a 35, 40, 45, 50 yard play versus like,
Yeah.
okay, we're going to try to dink and dunk our way down and hope that everything works out well, which is,
And
again, what
Well,
the
that
Lions
was
have done. And the proof of concept is there.
I was just gonna
well
say,
that
and
was I feel like that was also one of like the bigger changes that they made though. Jeremy once like Dan started calling plays was that they went from so much dink and dunk to like actually taking more of those shots.
yeah, a little bit for sure. And I mean, it's it's weird because I think the Lions know the importance of explosive plays, not just in the run game, but in the passing game. But for some reason, when Ben Johnson walked out that door, I felt like some of the layered concept stuff where you'd have like multiple crossing routes and just putting safeties in a bind with the way you were combining your routes, like it felt like they just went away from that, or they weren't as good at designing those things. And so you did see a downswing in it, felt like, this season of where, and I mean, maybe part of that was just they stopped trusting their protection to protect long enough, right? Like if you're going to throw deep, you need 3 or 4 seconds of protection, and the Lions finished what, bottom five in terms of time to pressure in this year. So I mean, you're never going to get gunslinger Jared Goff. You're just not, right?
No,
I think
that's
he's been programmed to not do that. He's been programmed to take care of the ball, and I think that's generally a strength of his. But I do think if you get the offensive line in order, maybe there is a little bit more of a acceptance of let's throw some more deep shots.
Yeah, I think an argument can be made, Ryan, that the way that Jared Goff plays football is what's best for the Lions. Like, but there does need to be a return to Jeremy's point, to some of the things that did make them successful when it came down to getting more explosive plays consistently and in situations where they were catching the defense off guard.
Oh, sure. Yeah. And to ignore the context of that Bears Packers game, neither defense was playing very good.
Not even a little bit.
When it came to defending the pass. So why not like tailor your attack towards that? So I I have a question that I want to ask you guys, though, kind of born out of that, and to go with the Lions OC search. You remember that athletic article, Jeremy, that kind of opened up the behind the scenes when it came to Jared Goff and Ben Johnson having that like lockdown session where, was it Zach Taylor was calling?
Something like that,
Um,
yeah.
he was
In
like, "Hey,
Vegas.
we're gonna go to Vegas," and
Yeah.
Jared Goff's like, "No, I'm good. I'm gonna bunk up here with Ben Johnson, and we're gonna build this offense."
Right.
And then the hiring of John Morton was, all right, bringing the gang back. As Meko mentioned earlier, I don't really have to do much. This offense is turnkey kind of thing. I have the familiarity. I was here when we built it. This was a question that I wish was asked to Brad Holmes, but like, how much do you think Jared Goff is involved in that search for the OC? How important is that? Like, I just think that it's more important than maybe we're letting on. Like there's been a lot of growth in Goff.
Yep.
We saw him be successful in an albeit like tumultuous season with John Morton as the offensive coordinator. We also saw the bad there too, but with the offensive line, there's some built-in excuses. But I do think it's not like an inimportant thing when it comes to Jared Goff and how comfortable he has to feel with the offensive coordinator.
It's hard to say. Like, you don't want your quarterback making the hire for you, but it's obviously like a critical relationship here, right?
Absolutely. Like in terms of personality and demeanor too, right?
Yeah.
Like just like feeling a vibe with a guy, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
And so, like, I don't know if that means having him like literally in there for the interviews. I mean, it would make sense to at least like have the guy meet each other. And listen, that's why they went with John Morton, right? Like there was the built-in relationship there, and you can say that was for good or for bad. But I mean, you again, like you understand the process, right? The results might not have worked out, but the process made sense. You're getting a coordinator that is comfortable with the guy that you know is going to be this team's quarterback, and you want to make sure that box is checked in some way or another.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't necessarily have to be someone with a relationship with him in the past or right now, but yeah, I mean, yeah, I do think it's a box you have to check in some way, and I don't know how you necessarily do that with an external hire, but yeah, you got to do something there.
I would say that like to piggyback off what Jeremy's saying, like I do think there needs to be at least some level of familiarity in the terms of like doing some of the things that your quarterback already currently does well or enjoys doing. But I think the same thing with Jared Goff is the same thing I would say with Dan Campbell. They both need to be challenged to evolve, and they both have to be challenged to accept something that like if this new offensive coordinator feels like, hey, with these pieces in this scheme that we can like really take this offense to the next level, if it's something that they haven't done before, like you have to be willing to try those things because as much as we like to talk about like how young the skill players are here in Detroit, like there's going to come a day when that's not the case. And you want to be able to get the most out of them when they are at their most versatile. So yes, do the things that Jared Goff is very good at, which I think we can all say fairly comfortably. It's play action and it's attacking the middle of the field, but also like find ways of challenging him to grow beyond, because I think that's another part of the thing that like kind of set this offense back this year was like, yes, your offensive line didn't perform well, but this offense also got very predictable later in the season where it was just like this is the run concept that you guys seem to always run. These are the passing concepts that you're always seeming to run. And the only reason that some of those things still worked was one, Jared Goff was playing at a high level, and Amon-Ra just for most like in most games just can't be stopped. And JMO is at a different level when it comes down to separating. But like you also still should be finding a scheme or evolving a scheme to a point where you can take advantage of all of those things.
I think bringing in Mike McDaniel is a good enough signal that they're receptive to that, right? Like
Yeah.
fresh eyes, you know. Let's see how that goes. Maybe you don't even have to have Jared Goff in the interview, right? Maybe that's a little too formal. What if it's just like, oh, he's in the building? Okay. Like,
Well,
I,
if you're Jared Goff, wouldn't you be excited about the potential? Because like you have to have seen like oh, wait, McDaniel was in San Francisco when Jared was still in LA, right? Am I misremembering that?
yeah,
Sounds about right.
yeah,
I think those
yeah.
timelines
He
match
was,
up.
yeah, he was with the Rams, right? Yeah,
So like I feel like there should be some familiarity in terms of like you've seen the type of offenses he's like you've played or like not physically had to play against them, but you've
sure.
seen them on the field. There should be a level of like excitement if I were Jared Goff of being like,
Oh
yes, if
gosh,
we can get that dude, absolutely.
he was certainly front and center for that Halloween butt kicking the Lions got in 2022.
True. Thanks for that memory.
I'm bringing them all back, baby.
All
Anything
right,
else?
one thing I want to just like really quick, and this is more so just kind of for kicks and giggles. And it's not going to be very kicks and giggles because I think like it's probably a horrible thing to have to think about as a Lions fan.
Great.
But I'm curious, with us getting Rams versus Bears in the next round of the playoffs, we have now entered a world where there is at least a strong possibility. And again, there's a game after this one, so it's not like it's a shoe-in, but there is a possibility where Matthew Stafford could find his way back into the Super Bowl and have probably a very good chance of winning his second Super Bowl ring. And if the Bears keep doing the thing that Jeremy says that they can't keep doing, Ben Johnson could get to the Super Bowl in his first season as a head coach. Would you rather see Stafford win a second ring or see Ben Johnson get to the Super Bowl this season?
Ryan, I hope this isn't close for you because it's not close for me.
I know it's not close for you, and it certainly is not close for me either.
Listen, you can't root for a division rival. Put all of my admiration for Matthew Stafford aside. Put all your hatred for Ben Johnson for defecting to a division. I would hate to see the Bears win a Super Bowl, period. I'd hate to see the Packers win a Super Bowl, period. I'd hate to see the Vikings win. No, I don't want the Bears winning a Super Bowl. Honestly, like
I didn't
Matthew
say win.
Stafford,
I said get there.
I don't even care.
There. They don't
like,
gotta win.
Whatever. That too. It doesn't matter. Like nothing.
All the above.
Nothing about Matthew Stafford winning another Super Bowl hurts me at this point. But I will admit, like Matthew Stafford going out and winning a Super Bowl in year one, and then Ben Johnson leaving and getting to a Super Bowl in year one. Like, yeah, that sucks to constantly see someone leave the organization, go have immediate success, and do something the Lions have never done.
Mm-hmm. That's all fair. I'm glad that we got this matchup when we got it, because think about the alternative. Had the Eagles won that game last night, there could have been a possibility where you didn't have a choice. One of those two things was going to happen no matter what. In a situation where the Rams play the Bears in the NFC Championship game. So, I don't know. Like, seeing Stafford win the first Super Bowl didn't really hurt a ton. Like, the Lions weren't close. I think, Meko, there is some of that to consider, right? Is that, well, you've seen the Lions get really darn close, and they did it with the guy that they traded Matthew Stafford for, but if that guy was here, would the Lions be over the hump?
Yeah.
So maybe it stings in a different way that way. Because
right.
did you guys feel that way after the Rams won the Super Bowl in 21?
No, I mean, I was rooting for him.
No, I was so happy for him.
You guys had your Detroit Rams shirts
shirt.
I mean, I have a Matthew Stafford Super Bowl jersey in my closet. I'm like, it's fine.
Can you buy a Ben Johnson jersey so we can end this thing?
But no,
does it work that way?
The one thing that I think you were getting to a little bit that does make sense to me is the Rams were supposed to have a refractory period. They were supposed to, like, after trading for all those, like, okay, they got their Super Bowl, but now comes the hard part.
Yeah.
For them to go through the hard part and then get to the Super Bowl before the Lions, who reaped all the benefits from the future portion of the trade, that would be an indictment on the front office a little bit, right? Where the Rams had to reload and have not as many draft picks to do it. Yes, Brad Holmes used that extra draft capital to get this team to a new level, but didn't get them to cross over the finish line to see the Rams be able to do that in the future 5-6 years after the trade. That part would be a little painful, but I think someone in the chat also brought up the fact that, like, well, now Stafford's in the Hall of Fame conversation if he wins his second Super Bowl. And
that's the part that, like, that would sting.
Oh, that doesn't hurt me. I'd be like, awesome.
What it would sting. No, for sure. It would, like, there's a level of vindication there for sure, in terms of, like, all the people that argued with me when he was here and I was saying, like, no, he's like top 10 talent, and, like, no one wanted to hear it. There's a level of vindication there. The part that would sting is that, like, it's going to be this conversation of, if he wins the second Super Bowl, Matthew Stafford won 2 Super Bowls within X time period with the Rams, and then Detroit's going to get looked at as the team that almost wasted his talent. Like, when in actuality, well, yes, but in a reality where it's like, it's almost going to get looked at in a way where it's like, oh, Detroit didn't value him enough to do what the Rams did for him, and it's just like, no, it's not that
Let him
they didn't
talk.
value him, they just didn't have the competence in the front office to do it.
Let him talk.
We're,
I
we're,
know where I stand in history.
we're spinning narratives. So like, can I spin it in a positive light and throw it back
Sure,
to the Lions? There was a little bit of that drop off. Stafford got hurt in 2022,
Yeah. Oh yeah.
but the Rams hit the bottom.
they did.
Where'd they go after that? They they worked their way back up and back up and back into the playoffs, and now they're one of the favorites to win the Super Bowl this year. So when you think the window's closing and when you think it's over, a team that had four All-Pro selections is all those guys are going to be back next year, right? Like the Lions, if 9-8 is the crater season, cool, awesome. Like this sucked, but it wasn't the worst thing in the world. There have been much more defeating seasons as a Lions fan for sure. Um,
Just draft
so
the 2026 version of Jared Verse, and we're all happy.
that's really important. You need to get that guy. So Brad Holmes, if you're
Yeah.
listening, pick 17 for Max Crosby.
Hey,
All right.
they're gonna treat the defensive end position like they did this year. They're gonna try.
I don't. The way, like, when you said that about the offensive coordinator, it didn't bother me. When you said it about Edge,
Dude, could
That,
you
like, actually,
could you
like,
imagine
triggered
him
something
being
in
more
me.
of a wet blanket? Could you imagine a bigger wet blanket statement than that? Like that's why he has the name. Like the moniker fits because of moments like that. Like I heard the splat.
that's not even like wet blanket, as in like that's pissing the bed. Like you just ruined like a moment.
I'm
Like,
just repeating what he said. If anything,
You
Brad
didn't have to
Holmes
repeat
is
it
a
then.
wet blanket.
This is real journalism, folks. This is how you do it. See, this is why reporters matter.
this and the ability to provide like well-timed compliments at the end of press conferences is why journalism matters. And with that said, I'm going to get us up out of here. So if you guys are looking for any more additional Lions content, you can obviously check out the Pride of Detroit website over at prideofdetroit.com if you want to stay locked into all the video content that we're doing, because we are doing a little bit more off-season videos over on our YouTube channel with myself and Morgan. You can go over to our YouTube channel at youtube.com/prideofdetroit and subscribe over there. Make sure you hit that notification bell because it makes it that much easier for you guys to just find our content in the future. With all of that said, though, Jeremy, are there any other announcements?
Midweek mailbag might be moving to Wednesdays, but might not be moving to Wednesdays in terms of when we record. But I don't know, just follow us on social media and you'll know.
Perfect. And so make sure to follow us on social media as well, because if the Lions do decide to keep Mike McDaniel hostage at Allen Park, that's where you're going to want all the inside information on how that, hostage situation is going down. But with all of that said,
By the way, Eric Schlitt confirms in chat, mailbag is Wednesday. I was waiting on him, so.
Breaking news.
see.
More real journalism, Meko.
see, and this whole time I thought Jeremy was the boss. It was Eric all along. Should have known.
Wow.
With that said, I'm Meko. He's Jeremy. He's Ryan. Thank you guys for taking the time to watch and listen, and we will see you guys in the next one.
There's a mutiny happening right now.
Recording stopped.
I thought for sure Miko's would be like, he's Jeremy, he's Ryan, I'm unemployed. It's gonna be it for the podcast.
I mean, if you guys want to go hunt for another host, I'm go all for it.
Eric brings up a good point. He says, to be fair, I'm the boss in the off season.
See?
Jeremy loves that.
That being said, who's been to a Senior Bowl? Who's been to an NFL Combine?
That's a flex now. Oh man. CJ Stroud's getting killed in this football game, and he's also making lots of mistakes.
He's doing it to himself. Like, he's making terrible decisions under pressure.
Okay, they're still winning though. That's all that matters to me. Like, I don't care how he plays, just don't lose the football game.
Yeah, Pittsburgh's on the doorstep though, and you make enough of these turnovers.
It's 4th and 2, though.
It is.
Spoilers.
I don't know. Everyone was going for it this past weekend,
They were. I wrote about it.
which was also like another thing that I was just like, maybe the pendulum has swung too far the other way, because there were a number of situations where other teams, I'm like, you should absolutely kick that field goal because,
I'm
and
team
like,
always go for it.
man,
My what game? Oh, it was the man. Um, the Bears Packers game. Like, even though the Bears pulled it out, like my dad's number one take about that game was, can you believe Ben Johnson going for it on fourth down on his own side of the field that early in the game? He has no idea what he's doing.
There were 9 fourth down attempts in that game.
they both knew they had terrible
Crazy,
defenses. Like, hey,
Yeah.
crazy.
we can't put our defense back out there to do this, to go through this.
I I think I want Matt LaFleur to stay in the division too.
I don't know. To Jeremy's point earlier on Twitter, was it earlier today or was it yesterday? I don't know if the Packers are drastically better with Matt LaFleur or John Harbaugh.
All right.
And
Yeah,
I
'cause
and I
it's the same
and I
problem.
and I
Can't get
because
over
like
the
and
hump.
I actually yeah, and I actually do think John Harbaugh is a very good head coach. I just don't know for that team specifically. Like I think you could make an argument that the issues in Green Bay aren't coach related, that it probably is quarterback related.
Most of my stuff, I don't know. It's Have you seen like all the Jordan Love like EPA man memes and stuff?
I
No.
haven't seen the memes, but I've seen his EPA that's like second or third in the NFL.
Yeah. And it's like, okay, like there's all these advanced statistics that are like, yeah, Jordan Love, Jordan Love, Jordan Love. And again, a lot of my like Malik Willis stuff is tongue in cheek. Um, the thing that I thought was pretty crazy that this was he's the Wisconsin manager at Bound, Wisconsin. Travis Wilson pointed out the Packers scored 3 first half touchdowns on those drives, 15 plays under center, 12 plays in shotgun. The Packers had a 3-score lead at halftime. In the second half, they ran 5 plays under center, 35 plays out of shotgun. Before the final drive, they had 5 plays under center, 24 plays out of shotgun. Like,
It's
I'm
wild.
not sure if something situationally happened that I wasn't aware of, but like there's just enough stink on like Matt LaFleur, like in big moments.
I think his ego gets in the way.
I don't know. Or,
Like
or
he
maybe if he just like is doing too much, where it's like, ooh, like I'm gonna zig when he thinks I'm gonna zag, kind of thing.
yeah, I think there are times where, and maybe multiple head coach, like maybe every head coach has these moments, but like there just seems to be like with Matt LaFleur, like he just can't keep doing the thing that's working. He has to
Right.
like find another way of twisting the knife. And it seems like more often than not in those big games, it does backfire on them.
Yeah. Too clever. I I don't know. It's
I do have this question for you guys. Oh, go ahead, Jeremy.
no.
Sorry.
I
I'll wait till you're
like
done.
it. I was just gonna say it's puzzling how much the Packers offense just disappeared, and I think I viewed it at the time as more of like, hey, the Bears found a way. Like they turned up the aggression in the second half of that game, no doubt. Like they were able to get to Jordan Love a lot more often. I felt like they were blitzing a little bit more. But yeah, I mean that you can't just let the defense dictate like that. You gotta come up with something or go to what was working. That Bears defense is not good enough. I mean, they didn't force a turnover, right? That was only the second game all season that the Bears were
Yeah.
able to win without even winning. Like their second win all season without even having even turnover differential, even or better. And so I just can't believe that the Bears defense just all of a sudden got better in the second half. There has to be another explanation, and maybe that's it. Maybe the stupid Packers went away from what was working for them.
I mean, they definitely weren't executing at the same clip. And I don't, to your point, Jeremy, I didn't walk away like in the second half. Like, man, the Bears defense has really turned it up. Like it really just felt like, man, like the Packers just aren't connecting on anything. Like they're not getting anything really going the way that they were in the first half.
I mean, the thing that I hated the most about that game was the handoff to the Bears tackle where he fumbled the ball and then managed to
The
kick it.
Packers.
Oh yeah,
You mean
kicked
the
it out of
Packers.
bounds. Yes. Yeah. Like
That's right.
what?
That's what I heard circus music. Like I was just like, oh, like and it wasn't even like in the red zone. Like they did that like on their own side of the field.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. Just
Screwed
crazy.
both those teams.
I was gonna ask the question though, like how much do you think Ben Johnson's antics in the postseason are gonna come back to bite him in the butt like next season? Because like there is a part of me that feels like across the
None.
league, like there is a like a perception that like, oh, like you're the head coach that likes to talk a lot of crap. Like
But he did it from his press conference, right? Like he called out Matt LaFleur in his opening press conference.
Mm-hmm.
yeah, which is still wild to me. Like I put it this way, when he did it in his opening press conference, I did think he was just like I think we even all said it, like, oh, he's just trying to win over like the fan base.
Yeah.
To find out that it like actually goes like skin deep, like, oh, like I feel like there has to be tea there. Like there's no way this is just like, oh, we're divisional foes and oh, they said some stuff during the week. Like this feels like it runs a little too deep to
May-
just be football.
Maybe, but also like Ben Johnson was with the Lions for how long? Like 6, 7, 8 years? I
Sure.
think he legitimately hates the Packers as much as we do.
I no, I think he hates the Packers, yes, and I think that is rivalry based, that is football, that is they've always been like this smug, franchise and like there's low key some hate. I think he hates Matt LaFleur personally, like
Well, I
to his core.
but don't you just think like that was the unlikable bowl a little bit? Like
Yeah, well, cause
Matt
like
that's part of what makes Matt LaFleur like even more unlikable, right? Is that like he embodies it's almost like he's the byproduct. Like the Packers' success for so long and
yeah,
just thinking that they are the cream of the crop and they are titled, all this stuff. And then it's like, well, created in the lab is this head coach that embodies all of those ideals and like will wink at a reporter when he's like, yeah, I got that timeout in, baby. Like, okay, dude, like, yeah, okay. Like you are high on your own supply. Like you do think you are that guy. But like that's what I love about that game where it's like I hate seeing the Bears win, but I love seeing Matt LaFleur get knocked down a peg.
well,
Yeah.
yeah, because yes, I would agree. Like his smugness is as much as I can say like Ben Johnson's antics are weird
Questionable.
to me.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like are weird to me from a head coach standpoint. I can equally say like Matt LaFleur's smugness is also something that I'm not used to seeing from a head coach. Like I I can't think of the last coach that was like smug like that. Like Rex Ryan was like a character, but like it was like that was probably the best way you could describe Rex Ryan. He's a character. It wasn't necessarily like anything that you could really take serious. You watch Matt LaFleur and it's like, no, I think this dude's like a dick in real life. Like I think this is just like his local Starbucks probably hates to see him coming.
I don't know. I feel like ego with a head coach is kind of common. And I know ego and smugness there's a difference there. But like I think McVay was pretty close for a while. I think McVay has humbled
Yeah.
himself a little bit more recently, but
I think yeah, but I think with McVay, like you could even like use the
oh
excuse
god,
that like LA
Sirianni.
life was getting to him.
Sirianni has
Sirianni's a psychopath. All right.
He was about to fight his star wide receiver on the sideline in the
they have
middle
a
of a
great
football game.
Ryan, they have a great relationship. You just don't understand.
Oh man. Like that clip has been on repeat of like him marching down the tunnel in the Bills game where he's like, and
Yeah.
since then they haven't won a football game, and like the look that AJ Brown gives while his head coach is like, yeah, yeah.
Dude, I was gonna say the same thing because I knew that happened and I saw the quotes. I'd never watched it until today, and I'm like, oh, he's just being a psycho, and everyone's like, everyone on his team is like, okay, like, what are you doing? Like, are
Yeah.
you?
Glad you're excited, but like
Right.
I'm not excited with you.
Right. And that to me was eye opening. It was like, oh, there might be people in that locker room that don't like those antics, and I'd never really even considered that.
And the fact that it's AJ Brown right there at that very moment, and he's just like,
But like that, like the Sirianni stuff gives off like fake. Like when his team responds that way, it's like it's a bunch of dudes that are like, all right, like you seem to be hamming it up. Like, and I think someone asked the question, like, how do I feel about Dan Campbell? Like, I think that's the number one thing when Dan got here, and it seems like every year, like people continue to ask this question of what do you make of Dan Campbell's personality? And everyone says the same thing. Dan's the same guy everywhere.
Yeah.
And so like it's maybe a culture shock to a number of players when they first get here. Like, oh no, like dude really is this. But I think there's a level of appreciation when it's like, oh, but at least I know what to expect from you. I know exactly who you're going to be Monday through Sunday. Like you're never switching up on me.
I
Sirianni would definitely come across as the dude that would do that.
I think that is Sirianni's true self. I think he is a big a-hole. Like I don't think he's being disingenuous there. I think he just sucks as a person.
I love when it's plainly stated like that.
Oh man.
Now he's just gonna be the Lions OC.
Don't you say that. Don't you put that evil on me, Ricky
Oh
Bobby.
my gosh. I think it was the Powerpuff Girls, right? Like the solution, right? Like the ingredients that are required to like make the Powerpuff Girls. Like you think about it with
Yeah.
a head coach, like there has to be like a measurable amount of likability, right? And I feel like Sirianni has negative likability. You know what I mean? Like I don't
Yeah.
know. Like if you were to like just look at that picture that they take of the owners' meetings of all the head coaches, just run through that list. The guys that you would sit down and have a beer with are the guys that you would like want to be your head coach. I can't imagine that there's too many guys that would break that rule. That you'd be like, no, he would. The one guy might be Sean McVay. Because that
Yeah.
was when he was most unlikable, when he was like, yeah, I remember that play. It was like 2nd and 4, and it was a jet sweep, and then we canned it, and then we went to this, and then it ended up being a touchdown. And then the interviewer was like, my God, he's right. It's like, okay, like what are these parlor tricks? Like are like are you fun to be around, or are you just like a football savant?
Maybe kids really bellowed him out. Like family life really was like, oh, okay, like I gotta settle down.
Maybe
Or
that
maybe just
helps.
took all the
Yeah.
it definitely takes a lot of the energy out of you. So maybe it just brought everything down.
And also he got like served humble pie, right? Like
Yeah.
they had
Oh yeah.
they had that downturn where a couple of years of not great, but then
And the
like
Jared Goff situation too, right? Like I thought he's done a good job kind of like making amends of like admitting he handled that poorly, and if he looking back on it, he thinks he didn't communicate well with Jared in that time. Like I give him respect for that.
oh yeah. hmm
AG as smug is an interesting one. Apparently the New York media
I don't
thinks he's
yeah.
smug, which
I'd say you didn't watch any of his press conferences before he got there. Like if you didn't think that that was the dude you were getting,
right.
shame
Yeah.
on you.
CJ Stroud is having an awful time catching the ball. Like
Catching the ball?
yeah,
Catching
like off the snap. Like
Oh.
that's how
Oh.
the last fumble happened, and he almost just like fumbled it again, and then had to like he like threw up a ball, but
Do
like
they have like a backup center in?
Oh. I forgot to do my free agent series for this game. Whoops.
I like how it changed from Saturday to Sunday.
What do you mean?
What do you mean?
Darnell Washington by any means necessary if he hits the market.
I was
How long is he going to be out?
I was too focused on preparing for this podcast to do my work for the website.
What a professional. What a professional.
Let me get through some alerts here, and then we can probably get out of here. Right before we went into our second segment, Keith Schmidt, $10 super chat says, "Hope we hear win one-on-ones less from coaches in 2026. I think Dan needs to come around to understanding we won't have a loaded roster every season. We need to be able to win with scheme too." I think that's a fair statement.
Yeah, I think the other issue though, like that I think even he and Brad both kind of hit on, and I'm not sure if you guys talked about this as well when you guys did the emergency pod though, is like they need to do a better job of making sure the roster stays loaded. Like I think these past couple years has kind of exposed a little bit, not saying it was a terrible decision to do, but like they focused so much on the guys that they had brought in from certain draft classes and making sure that those guys were developing and that they were set in a number of key areas that like not saying that they intentionally did this, but like you stop bringing in like top tier competition at key positions because it was just like, oh no, well we have this player and this player here.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, more competition has also been kind of like a line that both Brad and Dan have said in the past 2 weeks or whatever. Some people have also pointed out that because of all the trade ups and stuff, the Lions have made like the third or fourth fewest draft picks in the past 3 or 4 years. That's not going to help
that whole
depth.
Yeah, that whole adage of like, oh no, we found our guys when we got out, like doesn't sit well when
they end up not being guys.
Yep.
Yeah. No. You always got to be. Oh, he missed him. You always got to be team top 100 draft picks. Team top 100 draft picks.
Team trade down. That's what you said, right?
Yep. Yeah.
Jared Verse type player at 17 is what he said.
Or
the best offensive tackle available.
Yeah. Real quick, what are we planning on probably like moving into that mode? You think like after the Super Bowl?
Did you just see all the joy leave my face? Because
I did. I thought you were. I thought I may have had to call 911.
I don't know. I mean, I think soon, like free agency we need to turn the page on that pretty soon. I think there's maybe 1 or 2 more podcasts we can do as like a review, maybe a superlatives type thing for the season. I mean, the coaching search is probably going to continue on, but
no, Mike McDaniel's getting hired tomorrow. Say screw the Titans. I don't want to coach a crappy franchise. Staying in Motown.
S. Congo, thank you for the follow. Lori King, thank you for the YouTube sub as well. And we're caught up. Right. We can get out of here. There's 18 seconds left in the first half. Do you just want to watch that and then get out? We'll live react to it.
I'm watching it right now. Don't say whether or not they convert this third down. They're not converting this third down. Dang it. They were 7 of 8 before that on third down. And
really?
The Steelers are 0-6.
Jeez.
Yeah, I saw that somewhere.
They're up by a single point.
Defense wins championship, guys. That's all that matters.
Stop turning the football over, CJ Stroud.
It's a good strategy.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I don't have any announcements. Except I'll remind, in case any of them are around. Sitherly, JC2533, Lasermouth, 6651J, AD Jerome, Tactile Puma, and Invader Scooge. Hit me up. You guys won something. I want to send it to you. All right. And with that, I think we're going to get out of here. Thanks for hanging out, everybody. See you for midweek mailbag. You DM me on Twitter. Perfect. See you for the midweek mailbag on Wednesday afternoon/morning. And that's it this week, I think. All right. Have a great rest of your Monday night. See you guys later.
Emergency podcast tomorrow for Mike McDaniel.